G'day, hi, and welcome. Okay, all right. 15 degrees in here, 42% humidity. Very dark and gloomy out there, kind of raining. And it is official. The only place that there's snow in the country is literally at my house. like, I went like the whole way to like 3 towns over, almost no snow whatsoever. Went and cleaned the school yesterday with my buddy. And I'm like, I said, the only place that there's still like 2 feet of snow on the ground is my place. And he said, no. And when he drove me back, he's like, holy crap, you're right. Yeah, we're holding on to all the snow, the remainder of the course. Of course, spring would hit me last, right? So, oh well. Tease, what it tease. Okay, so yes, I did have a chance to come down here and get any videos done. I haven't read my book for like 2 days. I just been too busy last past 2 days. Uh, Last night though, I got 10 pages done of my book. So if I can keep that up, I could have that book finished and probably uploaded within the next 2 months. Have it completely finished. If I could do more, I got to see if I can push a little bit harder today because the way I'm doing the book, I'll get into the World War III stuff in a second. But the way I'm doing the book is I read say like Stephen King, like you read back like say 6 pages before you start writing, and I do some editing, whatever, and then I start writing, and then once I write, like Stephen King, I think he says he does like 2 to 6,000 words a day or something, like 4 to 6,000 words a day. I did about 1,000 words last night, so like that's while doing everything else, so it's getting there. So if I can keep up, you know 10 pages a night, that'd be 44 days to get roughly to get the book, copied out. And then whatever the editing time is on top of that. But it's editing plus writing, right? So there's that. And then if I can do more than that, it cuts down that time. I'd like to be able to do at least a minimum of 20 pages a day, which would probably bring me to around the end of the month, maybe into early May to finish it up. And then hopefully by that time I have the cover done and I have my copyright and my ISBN number. And then I can, hopefully by that time, be accepted on the KDP so I can start the uploading process and formatting process, which I think the formatting is going to go a lot quicker, because it's basically put the page on there, make it look good, move to the next one, right? And then I'll get a proof copy, read it, go over it, make sure it's good for you guys, and then if I'm lucky, maybe mid-May, I might be. It'd be mid-May or June at the latest if I can make that. If I only do 4 pages a night plus editing, then you're looking at almost May, June, July, August before you'd see the book. Even so, that would still be like putting out your first book in 8 months would still be pretty good for the average. If I didn't have, for example, the like if I had the tools I have right now, I could have I would already have the rough draft done, right? Because I had to write it out by hand. But I'd already have that done. I'd already be done probably editing. I'd be probably just about putting out the book now or whatever, and that was my goal. But I didn't have all that stuff. I didn't have the keyboard and the new keyboard and all that. So the new keyboard that's been the price definitely was right. Free was a good thing, but anyway, but that's how it's going. Just keeping you guys updated. So it's like it's happening. You know what I mean? Like it's pretty cool when you're getting to this stage. Like once I start uploading it on KDP, that's when it's going to start to get real. But I think once I have that proof copy in my hand, it's just like, okay, that's not necessarily mission accomplished, but it's writing one book in your life is probably again. I challenge anybody to try it. And my goal isn't to write the best book in human history, whatever. It's to write you a really good story. And considering all the crazy stuff that we're seeing going on in the world right now, it is fitting, especially up here in Canada with the NDP stuff. Like just listening to these people, and it's like, how do I incorporate that into the book? Like I said, a little like last minute add in because it's exactly what I'm talking about. Listening to the that native lady, MMI2I LGBTQ blah blah blah, like, oh, and it's just like, and she says it like, here's like three sentences and bang, and repeats the mantra again, like it's just buzzword after buzzword. Carney cut $7 billion from like indigenous services, right? And he cut some of the woke stuff. So it's like, okay, I'm not gonna, like, again, I don't trust Carney or whatever, but he's cutting woke stuff, and it's what needs to happen because we can't afford that. And those people are mentally ill; they need help. We need to take that money and put it into like real mental health services, not all these shrinks and stuff like that are enabling all this mental illness, because they're sick too, right? It's a strange system, but yet here we are. Listening to Carney last night, they had a liberal convention, um, and he was taking a lot of like low jabs at Trump for sure. Basically, letting everybody know which direction we're truly going to be going, right? So it's a very anti-American stance that he's pretty much taken. Like, we're not doing that anymore, kind of thing, right? Especially when it goes to the military stuff, like the idea of, he pretty much said it, and you couldn't make it any clearer. The idea of that 70 cents of every one of our dollars that goes to to the Canadian military goes to the U.S. That those days are gone. They're over. That's it. Huge loss of business for the United States, right? Some parts of our economy doing well. Other parts of our economy, again, it's exactly what I've said. Like, we'll get into the World War III stuff in a second, but the economic part of it is a big part of it. You have to understand they're all in on it in some level. It's just it's mob bosses fighting. We want the New World Order to look like this. No, we want it to look like that. And I was listening to Catherine Austin Fitz on Daily Prepper the other day, and I would love to interview that lady because I have a lot of questions that I'd like to get her take on. But like, she drew the conclusion roughly about the same time I did, and it was like it was like a hundredth monkey effect. Like, it was like we came up with it, and I'm sure we're not the only two people on the planet that came up with this, but it does look like the world elites are getting ready to kill each other, right? But it's the madness of kings, which is basically picture like this big royal hall with all these kings from all different kingdoms. They're all pretending to be buddy. But meanwhile, when this king talks to that king, the other guy, he got the little gold ring with the poison, puts it in his drink. The other guy stabs the other guy as he hugs him. The other guy stabs the other guy as he hugs him. Yeah. Like, that's madness of kings. It's mad with power, and psychopaths always seek power, right? That's why we got to come up with a better system than what we have, because the problem is we're just going to keep getting corrupt people after corrupt people. You get a relatively decent person to get into government. Next thing you know, they're finding every way they can scam the system, right? It just brings out the worst in people. So we need a more like hiring politicians is a bad idea, because hiring politicians is now just like, okay, how do I pander to the stakeholder investor class? That's all it is, to the point where they've got stakeholder capitalists basically trying to get us to use nuclear weapons against another country. You know what I mean? Just because, oh, I got to keep my donors happy. Well, there shouldn't be donors to your political party. I don't even know if there should be even political parties. I'm like, how about we just have direct democracy, and you could have delegates that, okay, the populace is, has an issue. They call here and they bring it, and then you have the debate on it. Because right now, like, anything that gets passed in government is not from like John Q. Public, like you or me. It's from these lobby groups, right? And the lobby groups are almost all pure evil. They're all like the Coalition for Gun Control, or whatever they're calling it now, with Heidi Rathjen, and I think Wendy Kliegler, she retired years ago. Yeah, good riddance. But like, that's a UN program. You know what I mean? Like, it's funded by people like George Soros and shit like that, and government funding as well. Like, why is my tax dollars funding things that are designed to take away my property rights, et cetera, right? And hurt me. You know what I mean? Like, on behalf of these small little rich elites. I think everybody's come to that conclusion that party systems don't work. You need more of like a direct democracy. Again, democracy, you know, I'm not necessarily a fan of it. I do tend to like the idea of a republic, but a democratic republic could sort of work. There's never going to be the perfect system, right? There's no one size fits all. There's no perfect system. But if you could at least eliminate politicians out of it and political donors out of it, you could probably have a general consensus amongst your population. The problem is we have to work our back to a stable population of like-minded people that, okay, they might be a little on the left on an issue, a little on the right on the issue, but they're all of a homogeneous society, right? So, like we might be too far gone, and no matter what, we're going to split up into micronations anyway, which seems to be what the world leaders want because it's easier to control smaller nations, right? So, like again, it's very clear, like Donald Trump is trying to destroy the world economy, and it's not his idea. He's not stupid, but he's not that smart either. You know what I mean? This is the people at the very, very top that want, they want the borderless society and stuff like that. Third world labor everywhere until the AI takes over, right? And the robot economy, which is a thing, and it's not feasible yet. Like it's like a robot. You could build a robot that'll do the same work as a human probably, but that robot will probably cost you 25 years of labor of a human being to build one, let alone a factory full, right? So it's just not. It's like these data centers; they're just not profitable at all. When you have to spend so much on these data centers, and like Mark Carney was saying, like why should we make Microsoft basically wealthy, right? Which I agree, but it means they still want the same data centers and technology, but they just don't. They want to own it, not the other guy, right? So it's it's one of those things where again we're gonna see like all this AI stuff. Okay, I understand it, I get it, and like the whole idea of a cashless society. Like I get what they're after, and yes, cryptos are the stepping stone to that. Look, your Bitcoin is just going to get regulated out. But that's I've said that for years. Like, oh, they can't touch it because yeah, they can. They just ban it. They do it. They're doing it in this country, that country. They ban this crypto or that crypto, whatever. It's the technology they want. You know what I mean? So whenever they want to steal all the wealth from everybody, they're just gonna like look. The people the same people that manipulate gold and silver in your economy are the same people that are manipulating these cryptos now, right? Like it's like if you think you're going to get one up on them because we can get around the petrodollar and all that because of the crypto. Well, those cryptos are kept on servers that are probably most likely owned by the very people that you're trying to run from. And even if not, it doesn't matter because they buy a whole bunch. They do a pump and dump. They do this with gold and silver all the time. They crash the gold price, so if people panic sell or stuff like that, and they care about the physical. They don't care about the digital numbers on a screen. Doesn't matter if it's mined or not. Like it's really the crypto is so that whenever it gets to the point where they get their full Internet of Things and all that, it's like okay, like Catherine Austin Fitz was saying. Well, you might only be allowed to go, say, 15 kilometers or 16 kilometers or 10 miles from your house, and then you might need a higher social credit score to go a little bit further, something like that. Or, you can only buy this much per month. You can only spend this much on this. They want to control every aspect of human life, right? That's what all this LGBTQ and transhumanist stuff is all about, is to getting people's minds so broken that they just go along with anything. And again, listen to what these people advocate for, right? Their own self-destruction. Like if you're a progressive, a wild progressive, like you're in the ether big time. And the way they keep these people held down is through the fear of the alt-right Nazis, right? So that's why you can't talk to these people. You can't reason with them or bargain with people. They've become loyalists or the Hydra, right? You can't, they might be too far gone, brainwashed. like Saint Yuri Bezmenov talked about, like ideological subversion. There's, like you take your communist student, you bring them to the Gulag, show them exactly how bad it is, and you'll still advocate for communism. Safe and effective jabs. You have to understand, almost all the people on the Epstein files, let's say people that were telling you it was safe and effective, including Trump, right? Like Trump warp speed, right? That was Trump. Like that should have been everybody's big. Okay, yeah, he's one of them. Yeah, that warp speed was like, okay, yeah, is he just a stupid boomer that believes everything, or is he, in on it? And to me, it's like, no, he's in on it. He made money off of it. If not, his kids made money off of it. Again, follow the money, right? It's like all these little military drones companies that his kids are, again, to have, especially like Eric Trump and so that, like the stuff this man said, like all the fake wars and the deep state, blah, blah, and then here he is backing the war. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's bad. But I started thinking something about Epstein last night, and it's just like, okay, because like Catherine Austin Fitz always says, who is Mr. Global? We don't know who, like, we know up to a level, and everything's compartmentalized. We have a good idea of who's running what, but there's still an elite class that we don't know about. I mean, like George Soros and the Rothschilds, believe it or not, answer to somebody, right? Larry Fink from BlackRock answers to somebody. So who is it? Is it Satan himself? I don't know. But what we do know is that there's somebody above the like the crown prince's answer to somebody. You know what I mean? Like it's, like I know there's a coalition and stuff like that, and like again, it's a multitude of layers of kings at the top. But I do believe there is, secret orders of people up there. And then I thought, well, and this you guys just chew on this idea for yourself. That, okay, everybody talks about Epstein as a Mossad agent, right? Okay. Fair enough. I don't dispute that. But is he an agent? Think about this, okay? You got one agent that pretty much has his picture taken with every world leader in the past 30 years, right? He's involved with just about everything. Like Catherine Austin Fitz made a speculation that a lot of this, like Internet of Things and all that, and the crypto thing might have been a Jeffrey Epstein invention. Like he might be the architect of it, right? Maybe not doing the actual work, but like the concept with the social credit score system, like you see in China and stuff like that. That might. And then I started thinking, maybe, okay, I'm not saying Epstein was the king of the world, so to speak, but I bet you the guy knew who was. You know what I mean? Like, I bet you he was like, okay, because this man cannot physically be everywhere at all the time. And, oh, my garbage can. Get my garbage. Yoo-hoo! Bin number 17 just got taken away. Thanks. But like, what I'm getting at is that if Epstein wasn't at the top of the pyramid, he's right beside the people who are. You know what I mean? So it's not these lower level people like Trump or Biden or Carney. Like Carney's got pictures with the Epsteins. Like, I mean, these people all run in the same circles. To what level, right? Macron, you name it. They're every world leader, Starmer. It's like nobody knows them. But then here's all these pictures, and they're like, oh, well, that was a Christmas party from years ago, and it just happened to be like that. Now, that could have been in his MO. It's like, just get pictures with everything just to cast the doubt, right? Like, people think about, well, they have to have something on you if you got your picture taken with Epstein. Not necessarily. But the picture with Epstein is like the tar and feathering, right? It's just like, it's kind of like if Trump endorses you, you lose your election, right? And that's what happened to Orban, apparently. Now, I don't know about the new guy. Is he going to open the borders? I don't think so. But is he going to be more, okay, let's get war, we're going with Ukraine, help the Ukrainians? I don't know. So I don't know if what side of the the aisle the new guy is truly on, but apparently he won in whatever. Orban was in there for ruling Hungary for 16 years. So I know there's a lot of issues with getting closer to the EU and stuff like that. But again, too much to follow right now. We'll have to keep an eye on it. But I hope they don't go fucking full open borders. Poland is still holding line with migrants. I don't even know why the migrants are even still showing up there. Like these people do not want you there. Yeah, yeah. We got to be more like Hungary and Poland on that, like this immigration thing. Let's just fucking send people back. Yeah, and again, you can call me all kinds of hateful names if you want, but I'm like, it's just these people are not being brought in to enrich us. They're brought in to destroy us. And the very people that have us at war right now and they're destroying the world economy, like all these Irish farmers, protesting the government. That's fine, but you better be protesting Jews and Zionism and Donald Trump and all that too, because and Israel, because that's why your gas prices are up, right? But we should also be questioning the whole concept of the petrodollar. And like right now, it's something to watch for. But I think Carney is probably going to say, okay, yeah, we got to get those like Line 5 and Line 9 bypassed, even if the Canadian taxpayer has to do it. You know what I mean? Because we have to be completely self-sufficient from the United States. They're going down and they're going to take us with them. And every time they take a hit, we get beat the shit out of because it hurts us twice as much. Like we're going to have our own refining capacity 100%, period. Yes, it will take 10, 15 years or whatever. But that said, there's like this idea of cheap oil, I think, is going to give way to into supply chain 2.0, like Jim Rickers is talking about, where instead of getting the quickest, fastest, lowest, cheapest dollar, cheapest this, cheapest that, cheapest labor, cheapest everything, and the quickest, most efficient, that we're going to go for more redundancy, a little more expensive, but able to weather economic shocks better. And so people will probably say, you know what, and this is what is exactly happening with Canada, where we're now up to 20 trade deals from 12. So that's an extra 6 trade deals in about a year. The guy in 1 year did 20 trade deals. Even Stephen Harper couldn't do that. And again, I know a lot of people hate Carney, and there's a lot of complaining. Yes, every time there's a layoff, it's Carney's fault. I know about the 400 hospital layoffs at the Ottawa hospital. Yeah, it's bad. I get it. But some stuff is on the province too. It's or the city, right? So you can't just put everything on the federal government all the time. But that said, yes, it's not a raining endorsement. But if Trump did 20 trade deals in the past 15 months or whatever it is that he's been in power, everybody would be praising him, including me. But he has not done that. I don't know when the last time Trump actually did a trade deal that he actually did. Almost all the trade deals that you got early last year were stuff that Biden had ruled. Like the Artemis 2, space, the moon thing. That was Biden. That wasn't Trump. You know what I mean? Trump will take credit for everything, but it's like when you see the guy's been in office for 30 days and there's a trade deal signed. Okay, chances are that trade deal was already in the works. You know what I mean? But people don't. They think too simplistically. Now, the same thing can be said for Carney, that there was probably some trade deals in the works under Trudeau, but there were so few under Trudeau. Trudeau was just giving out money to everybody. There weren't trade deals. He was just doing welfare everywhere. Where Carney's actually making cuts, right? And he's making cuts on left-wing things as well as right-wing things, but he's investing in the military. So $13 billion go to the military. You cut $7 billion from Native affairs. Again, I'd like to see what all's involved, because there might be some stuff that I would take issue with, because I'm not like the Doge, for example. I don't believe in stuff like that, and I'll tell you why. I get the concept. Yes, they had to balance the budget, But this shock and awe, take the Javier Milei style, take the chainsaw and just cut government's wasteful spending is so reckless. It's so reckless. It's detrimental to your economy. Javier Milei did that. Sure, he balanced his budget overnight, but he put 30% of his people out of work. That has a massive cascading effect into the private sector as well. You have to you have to do everything incrementally. Like lightning speed in government is the speed of smell. Like people don't understand it. And what Carney's doing, like again, last night, if I would have closed my eyes listening to Carney, it would have been like listening to Stephen Harper for the most part. Yeah, there's still some woke stupidity that he's got or whatever. But he's not Justin Trudeau. He's not done anything that signals that. Does he pander to the left? Yes. But the left wing in Canada is absolutely furious with Carney. Like they're like, this guy's a conservative, hardcore. He's not. He's a centrist liberal. He's not conservative. There's nothing conservative really. Well, that's not true. Yes, the budget is over, but so Harper was over budget for most of the 10 years anyway. He balanced it in the 11th hour, but like what Harper was doing was spending, and it looks like this is what Carney's doing. It's too soon. It'll take another year and a half to figure out if this is exactly what he's doing. But okay, like so Carney, for example, was $78 billion or whatever it is over budget, right? Which is a lot. But in comparison to the States, it's not even close. Like we could, but we're spending $200 billion on our interest payment. Yes, but we're spending it on the interest payments and the like our payments. So that means like 60 or so, or 80% or whatever it is, or 75% of our budget is usable, right? And the debate is only what's considered the budget, what's considered, nation building investments. And there's shovels are breaking ground as of a couple of days ago for some of these first investments that were, last year. So you do the deal last year, it goes into effect this year, right? So it takes time, right? And like I say, it'll be 4 or 5 years before the common man on the street's going to feel the benefits of what Carney's doing, but racing against the collapse of the United States. So we're going to take a lot of nasty hits too. The United States is taking absolutely devastating hits right now, economically. And it's on purpose. It's on purpose, right? Because the money, they always have the money for war. Everybody's kind of drawing the conclusion. Our fuel prices are astronomically higher, and that's one of the reasons why they're higher. It's to fund the war. Like the prices themselves are going up, right? But fuel, but they're also adding on extra fuel surcharges on other goods and services to compensate, right? So we're being gouged. Doesn't matter if it's Canada, the United States, or Europe, or whatever. We're all getting gouged big time, right? And that money, extra money, is what's going to fund the war. The tariffs are to fund Israel's war. The Jewish war. That's what it's for. You know what I mean? Like you just follow the money. You'll see it's not going to the veterans. It's not going to healthcare. It's not going to this. It's not going to that. Canada, yeah, we're doing the same thing, but to a lesser degree, where it's more sane and more manageable. But it's still the same. They're all in on it, right? They're all in on it. But that said, the other thing I wanted to say, so we're at 20 new trade deals. How much global disruption will there be? Will it work? Will it not work? I don't know. To me, until you get start again the next quarter, I want to see if more immigrants have left. The more we can get the immigrants leaving, especially the illegals and all these refugees. But I have a hunch we're going to just start taking on hordes of refugees. The next batch of refugees, and I said this under Justin Trudeau that our population would hit a certain when Justin Trudeau took office. I think we were at 32 or 33 million. We're now at 41 million. I think by about 44 million, Canada completely implodes. We're almost there, right? It's just it completely implodes. Especially if it's all all these doctors and engineers that we're getting, right? Coming across, yeah, it's it's again when almost In 2015, I don't know what it would be now, but in 2015, 85% of immigrants coming to Canada didn't work for the first 3 years, and maybe 45% worked after, and they're all going to like the low tech or low skilled labor like Tim Hortons and stuff. You've got an invasion of Indians into Texas, H-1Bs and stuff like that. And again, it's the system is so scamming. It's so scamming. And what I understand the normie Norman that has a business that doesn't really understand how they're screwing themselves. They just see it in dollars and cents. Well, if I could pay this guy half the wage and the government subsidizes the other half of the wage, like why, my competitor, blah, blah. You have to understand, like, once these people come in, they're going to overtake your system. And once they do, and they're getting elected everywhere, trust me, they're going to destroy it. You import the third world, you become the third world. You know what I mean? Call me racist bigot if you want. It's not that I hate all these other people. It's just, it's not sustainable. Nobody wants to be displaced in their own homeland. If the shoe was on the other foot, they'd be screaming bloody murder. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, no. What's got to be good for the goose has got to be good for the gander. These people need to go. They have to go back. They have to go back. So all that to say this, so to speak, is that we're in a situation where there's no way out but through, and the through is going to hurt bad this time because it already is. Like, again, you have to understand, when you have farm tractors blocking up Irish streets and stuff like that, that's people that are not going to work that day. That's people that are not, the economy not functioning. When you have people, basically trying to, fight against another nation, and you pull like 300,000 from your population to fight, and then another 400,000 from your population to fight, such as in Israel, against Lebanon and all that. Well, that's people not contributing in the economy. That's just death and destruction, right? So the guy that you pulled away from this job or that job, after a while it starts to add up, and then suddenly you start seeing shortages, you start seeing this, you start seeing that. Now, the ceasefire, if you want to call it that, is not really a true ceasefire. It's a rearming is what's going on. Same thing you see in the Ukraine. Ceasefire for 2 weeks, and then 2 weeks later, everybody's shooting at each other. But it's already been violated something like 6,000 times. But it's just, they're not doing full rocket barrages and stuff like that, full bombing, so... but yeah, it's like Israel's pushing into Lebanon a little bit, but it's like at what cost? Like it's just, yeah, the IDF is not going to win this war. The IDF, I think their days are numbered. I don't know if they're going to be dumb enough, because you have to understand the Israelis they're completely insane, right? And a lot of it is end times prophecy stuff. So I'm still anticipating a strike, an Israeli strike on Egypt, and maybe even Pakistan as well. And again, you have to understand what they're trying to do is get it so that they can just start nuking people, right? Because it's what they want. Like, they love the idea that the Iranians are knocking out the Persian Gulf for them, right? Because they're not going to have to fight these guys in the future. And as soon as all the Gulf states collapse from this war, all those people will just start to die of the effects of war. You take out the desalination plants, you can kill half the Middle East, genocide them within a week or two, right? The migrants that make it to Europe from Africa, the Africans are already starting to get the food shortages. They're always, like, the Africans, what they do, okay, is when there's a food shortage, they just loot, steal, and go into warlord mode, right? They don't, oh my God, we got a food shortage, maybe we should mobilize our population to start growing food. They're not industrious like that. They don't have that capacity. It's not in them to do it. So what they do is either they go into warlord mode, or they go into let's go to Europe refugee style. Let's take the refugee cruise, right? And they start doing that because they're always looking for free stuff. Like, the Africans don't build stuff; they live on handouts pretty much. And I know, oh, how dare you say this? Yes, there's the exception to the rule. I know there's just the average African is not that smart, and you got some that are actually pretty smart. Yeah, sure. You see in India, oh, the high IQ Indians. Yeah, yeah. Like, okay, yeah, but a lot of it is scams too. Most of these guys are not that smart. Yeah, again, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to get the bullshit lines. But the thing is when you get either it's going to be like 1 million people a week or 1 million people a month, it won't really matter. Even if it's 1 million people a year, it's, like another like 20 million people into Europe will collapse the complete food supply of Europe. They just can't. It doesn't matter where you send them. Like it won't matter where you send them. You know what I mean? So once you get to the food collapse, okay, then it goes tribal. At that point, like, look, I told you guys, the future, Muammar Gaddafi is the future of the world elites. People are understanding who's doing this to us. Like, one thing I'll say about Carney is he's smart enough not to shake the boat too much. Stephen Harper was the same, where Stephen Harper rarely did interviews with the CBC. Why? Because it was always going to be, like, he tried to avoid them like the plague, and which was actually a brilliant strategy. Why? Because he was so under the radar, just nobody paid attention to the politics whatsoever, and he just got whatever he wanted done. Like, he got it done. You know what I mean? Carney seems a little bit more out front because he has no choice. Because, like, Carney has been designated the world leader, whether you like that or not. But like all the countries in Europe are like, what's Canada doing? Because like everybody's around the world is looking at us and like, okay, well, they're the poor guys that are living above the crack house right now. You know what I mean? And like, how are they weathering that storm? How do we make more partnerships with Canada? Which is a huge benefit to us. Like I say, we're going to be a superpower beginning in about 4 or 5 years. It's not going to look like the old superpowers, but we're going to be a technological superpower. Within 15 years, we're going to be astrological superpower in space and stuff like that. If we keep just following it might not be Carney in power by that time, but the ball is already in that motion. Militarily, we might not be the largest military, but we'll probably be the most technologically advanced within 10 years. If we keep following through with building our own shit and stuff like that, because Canada builds good shit when we build stuff. It's just, it's usually more expensive to build it here, and everybody's still stuck in that kind of capitalist mindset where it's always about the cheapest thing, right? And when it's like, no, it's more, the direction we're taking is what's more reliable, rather than just what's the cheapest, right? Because if it's the cheapest, it's always buy over here, buy over there, right? You can never compete with the third world labor. But that said, we are moving in a more stable, structured direction. It's just the man on the street, he's not going to notice it when the global oil supply is down by 20% or whatever, and everybody's getting kicked in the nuts, right? So the man on the street, they're just more pain and suffering from them. The elite class, yes, they always make money. They'll always make money. No, it's not fair. I get it, but it is what it is. That's what's so infuriating about it, right? Even one of my commenters were like they get the psychopathic part of it, but they were really upset about like how like it's just the profiting off of all the chaos. You know what I mean? And I get it. Like it's a multiple thing. Like these people. Like once you have $1 billion, like do you have to have do you have to have $10 billion? You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? Like why is that so important? And when you have the billions of dollars and you have all this power, why does your power have to go sinister? Like again, and how do I put this? And I thought of this, it was something I was going to throw in my book, or maybe the next book, is that the elites don't hate us because we did something bad to them. They hate us because we're us. The reason why we have to have Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030 and driverless cars, if we're allowed, and all this climate change stuff and LGBTQXYZ, whatever. The reason why we get all that stuff is because they want us to suffer, not because they're like to die with dignity. They want us to die. You know what I mean? The Klaus Schwab. Again, this whole thing is orchestrated to, I'm not saying the Iranians are willing participants in this one. They're just the people that they targeted to get the job done. So, because they could have had the war here, they could have had a war there, anywhere they want the war. But it's again, these world elites are okay, well, we can't really trigger the war with Russia because Russia and China, because they can actually fight back. But Iran, we could take Iran because they're just there will be like Iraq and Afghanistan. Well, it turns out Iran is a near peer. The United States does not have a strong enough military to take them. And again, it'll take out people like the most hardcore America Firster to get it. I listen to some of these veteran guys, and they're a mixed bag. I listen to one U.S. veteran going look, no, I've played this game in Iraq and Afghanistan. It doesn't work out the way you think it is. Sure, you can send all these Marines and they're all enthusiastic about storming the beach like Normandy style. But when they come back after they've seen half of, we keep hearing about Iwo Jima. And I said, you have to understand, Iwo Jima was the bloodiest battle, I believe, of, against Japan, that the Americans fought against the Japanese. They lost 7,000 people and 26,000 wounded over 3 days. You know what I mean? That is just fucking astronomical when you think about it. And that's guys running around with fucking flamethrowers while they're getting shot at with artillery. And the Japanese, they still stayed on the island. Parts of them surrendered, sure, but they stayed on the island until 1946 before they actually went home. So it was a complete blunder, right? Well, Cargo Island is going to be that same blunder. So yeah, you get all these guys. They're gonna land on the beach, yeah. America, fuck yeah, right? And then they're gonna come home. Oh my God, I got PTSD. My government won't take care of me. Blah blah. What do you think was gonna happen? You know what I mean? And I'm being an asshole about it, but am I wrong? You know what I mean? Talk to your average veteran. They're gonna say, "How's the Veterans Affairs teaching you?" You better be ready for an earful, because they send me to fucking war, and when I come back. They give me a hard time about this, they give me a hard time about, they always have money to send people to war, but never money for the people that come back from these wars, right? And you have to understand, if you think your government cares about you at all, you know what I mean? When, all these progressives and neocons and stuff like that in your government's always trying to find ways to screw the little guy, whether it's through high fuel prices and inflation and all that. And again, when all that inflation comes in, you better believe every one of these Congress critters or people in Parliament, they make money off of all this chaos. They always make money off of it, right? And it's disgusting, but it is what it is. But that said, while these so-called peace talks are failing, and again, everybody's figured, there's this Hollywood mentality that everything's a 2-hour movie, right? G.D. Vance went for peace talks and it failed on the first day. Oh my God. Guys, peace talks take fucking years. Ask North Korea and South Korea what peace talks are like. They're still at an armistice. They haven't even signed a peace agreement yet. You know what I mean? And what was that, 1948? Yeah, since 1948, Korean War. 47, 48, whatever it was. But you get what I'm getting at. So Iran, they're no, give us what we want or we're not, they're going through the motions just to save face at this point. Now, of course, while these are going on to save Arado, they sent, I think, 2 Ollie Burke destroyers and maybe, I think, a couple other, I don't know if it was minesweeping ships. We don't know what they are. But apparently other ships were being sent near the strait. Trump says they're in the strait doing mining, sweeping operations. Other people say, no, they're nowhere near that. They're still a few hundred miles off. But they're within striking range of the Iranians. What can be confirmed is the Iranians are telling all commercial shipping in the Gulf states around the Strait of Hormuz to keep, if they spot a warship, stay 10 miles from it because we're ready to open fire on them. This is what's being broadcasted in English by the Iranians, to all basically merchant ships and so like that. So like, don't be sailing too close to a warship, because we're gonna hit it. So why would they do that? Why would Trump do that? Well, simple. Trump would jizz in his pants. So would Lindsey Graham and all these people, if the Iranians could just sink a fucking destroyer. They're not going to waste the aircraft carrier. But if they want to nuke Iran, the Iranians have to. Oh, look, they while we're having peace talks, they sunk our destroyer. So what the Iranians are doing is like, well, we're going to wait till they fire on us first, and then we'll sink it. I bet you that's what they're doing. But the Iranians are also like, yeah, we're not taking the bait. We might even let them fire on us and say, look, they're firing on us while we're at peace talks, but because we believe in the peace talks, we're not going to fire back, right? Maybe they'll do that, because it doesn't really matter. Like an Ollie Burke, again, Douglas McGregor sums it up best. Only an idiot would think you could use a ship to attack a fort. you know what I mean? Like, okay, yeah, they'll take a couple of hits, because you can always sink these ships later when the war kicks in. But I think in the next round, there's stuff coming in from China, apparently. God knows what's coming in. I can imagine it's more air defense systems and so that. And trust me, the Chinese want to test out their stuff too. Like, we know the Russian air defense systems work well. It takes time to train up guys. So, like, if you had 6 weeks of training on a Chinese air defense unit, you're probably not going to be that good. If you had 6 months, maybe you'd be a little bit better. If you had 5-6 years, you're probably pretty lethal with these things. So it's hard to tell if it's not just lock on and fire. It's not when you hear of like an air defense system that can like shoot down aircraft at 250 miles away or 400 kilometers. The Iranians have that stuff domestically. That's not the problem. But shooting down a fighter, right? Why are they so tricky to shoot down? Because out past a certain range, you're giving the guy all kinds of options to evade the missile, such as just maneuvering the aircraft a certain way. Countering a missile with a missile, possibly. Just being far enough away that they can outrun it. They could be, okay, well, we don't have to, okay, here comes the missile, duck down below the use train masking. There's chaffs, flares, electronic warfare, get the AWAC guy to help you. You know what I mean? Do you remember that Su-34 Russian pilot that dodged the Patriot missile system last year? I mean, again, that airplane, you can't see behind you in it, right? You can see it's a fighter bomber. But he basically outran that thing for something like 12 minutes or something like that. I don't know how long. It was a couple of minutes anyway of this aircraft, like basically dodging 2 or 3 Patriot missile systems, right? The missiles, right? And the thing is one I think even exploded near the aircraft just as he turned, and flared out and whatever, kind of like El Toro with the bull, right? So, but the thing is that he had basically an eye in the sky telling him, okay, he's on your tail, he's coming at you there, turn this way, okay, turn now, turn, like all that. And you can listen to it. You can, you'll have to read the subtitles because of the, the Russian, unless you understand Russian, right? And some people have even done video game reenactments of the occasion, because it's like, okay, if the murder duck, the Su-34, they call it the fullback. NATO calls it the platypus, but everybody, the Ukrainians called it the murder duck, because when you see the aircraft, you'll understand. It does look like a platypus. I think it's a cool aircraft, but admiring it as an aviation enthusiast, yes, but I wouldn't want the thing flying over my head. In aggression. I'm sure the Iranians, Ukrainians don't share any love for that aircraft whatsoever. It's been a real pain in the ass to them, even though the Russians have lost some. But the Russians have lost usually all the Russian aircraft that get shot down are at much closer ranges. They're not shot down 100 miles away. it's like, okay, now you're over the air, like at unmissable range. And this is what's happened also, like to spring the air defense trap, like it seems like the Iranians know that you don't bother wasting missiles way out there somewhere because it gives too much time to react to it. So you know, like once they're, you know, the thing, so it's kind of sitting there like hunting. You know, you're waiting for your buck to come by. Sure, you see the buck 400 yards out, you could shoot him, or you could wait till he's at like say 60 yards and then pop him. Where at 60 yards he has no chance of getting away, right? So this is what I think is happening. So, like turning on your air defense systems gives you away, right? But that is also when you have multiple air defense systems, you can use that as tactics to get your guy to come in. This is what the Viet Cong did. Was basically they turn on a SAM, an A6 intruder would come in, they detect it, they'd shut it off, right? And they'd fly around for a bit, and then, oh, there it is again. They'd fly in again. Okay, well, come at it from this angle. Okay, whatever. And then they'd come on again, and then another one would come on. I was like, oh, okay, there's two of them. Okay, that's the defense line. Okay, blah, blah, blah. So then, you know, they stay back, but whatever. We're going to fly over here. And then a third one would come on, and suddenly, oh, shit, we're right in the middle of three of them. And then 8 of them come on. And they just start fucking piling missiles on you, right? And that's how they shot down like B-52s. I think it was Operation Linebacker. They lost like 10 B-52s in that. You know, like, these airplanes were at 50,000 feet. This is like, you know, 1960s, 1970s, and they were still getting fucking knocked out of the sky by missile defense systems of those days. So like F-35s and stuff like that, they're just as vulnerable as anything else. The only thing you'd fire long range at is stuff that can't maneuver, like tankers, AWACS, stuff that like they have to use either electronic warfare or you know, like droppable countermeasures or something like that to evade the missile because they can't outrun it. You know, like these airliner type aircraft can't outrun the missiles, and if they're too close, like those you can shoot from 100 miles out, right? It's just they might be able to jam the missile, right? So it depends on how the missile is sent and whatever. But the closer you are, the more likely you are to shoot down the aircraft. Now, the story of the big raid and stuff like that. Now, Trump, because he's a psychopath, cannot, like, this guy is the worst guy for negotiations. Like letting everybody know you're going to do this, letting everybody know you're going to do that, right? Now, I understand there is a say things out loud so there's no miscalculation type of things that happen. We're going to do this to Russia. We're going to do that, right? So that Russia doesn't get take the, misread the signal, so to speak. The Russians do the same. I understand that game too. But then there's just we're America and we can do whatever we want because we're so good. We're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then it backfires, right? Like Trump's still going on. Yeah, but we took out their Navy and their Air Force, and they've got no air defense systems left. But every time he says that, an aircraft gets shot down the day after. You watch it. You'll see what I mean. Look at every aircraft that Iran has shot down so far in this conflict. And it's like the day before Trump says, oh, they got no air defense. We've won. We defeated them. And yet they're still shooting. It's kind of like Trump, oh, I defeated ISIS. It's like, yes, but they were just blowing shit up that day. Like, how did you defeat them if they're still around? Right? But what Trump can't tell you is that, no, they're arming ISIS. They armed ISIS on behalf of Israel, right, to overthrow Assad. For, the ISIS guy that he was just, that fucking guy, again, was on the terrorist watch list of every country. He was in the UK having lunch with Starmer there like last week, the week before. Because, Assad was so bad. But this guy's like literally killed American and British and you name it. Like this guy is it's like, this is who our government's back, right? Because Israel said so. The Jews wanted Assad gone, they got him gone. And they put in this maniac. You know what I mean? Can't even make it up. Yeah. But the raid, okay, now people are starting to say, okay, well, where are all these people that you saved? Because if all these soldiers were saved, and it does look like what they were going to do was the ridiculous thing that Trump said out loud before they did the raid. So he's like, "Yeah, we're going to go in, and maybe we're going to take the go collect some of the like the like why would you even say that out loud? You just got your own guys killed. Like you wouldn't tell you wouldn't even tell them after the operation, unless it was a major success. You'd say, yeah, by the way, we did this. I mean, after the fact when the guys are well and safety, right? But no. I'm going to signal to you that I might do it, might not do it. So the Iranians like, okay, well, beef up security or But again, that's the arrogance of Trump. Like it's not a 4D chess plan or anything like that, unless his 4D chess plan is to get his own guys killed. And I think that's exactly what happened. Look, the bullet holes. Okay, the only question is, were the bullet holes put in these aircraft when they were on the ground or off the ground? Like, look, I don't believe for a second that they scuttled these airplanes, the U.S. scuttled. I don't think they had time. If there's bullet holes in there on all the aircraft, okay, and you look at how the aircraft are like destroyed on the ground, it more is in line with what the Iranians are saying, So it was raining, it was foggy. They saw these aircraft coming in. They opened fire on them, probably with Zu-23s, I would imagine, or and other light machine guns. Maybe a 20 mil. Who knows, right? And maybe the 12.5, whatever they would have been using, right? Old 50 cals. Who knows? And they hit one aircraft that came just as it was coming down on the runway, and the other one, I don't know if they hit it with a mad pad or whatever. They said they hit like the third engine and it came down kind of in a controlled crash. That's probably why you had two aircraft kind of parked weird with each other like that at the end of the runway. And then from the little footage that you can see, you can hear the machine gun fire and you can hear explosions. And then there was one where you see like something being launched and you see something on the ground getting hit. So I guess maybe a rocket truck or whatever it was, guy with an RBG-7. Well, no, it had to be something bigger than that. But you could hear all the shooting, and it seemed like they were back far enough. But you see the missile go from the ground to the ground, and you can see like a whole bunch of shit blowing up. Looked like probably about a mile away, but it's in the dark and it's hard to say. So all you see is bright flashes. Then you see footage of like aircraft falling out of the sky. How many helicopters was that? I don't know. You see a couple of footages of C-130s getting shot at or multiple. So again, we don't know. And why send such a large force to get one guy or two people, right? Doesn't make sense, right? Unless it was the other operation. And the fact that where these aircraft were over the mountain, there was a nuclear facility. So I think, again, I'll take Trump's word for it that that's what they tried. But again, like how retarded are they trying to? Like the only thing it makes sense if they were trying to explode the facility, but if they got diverted to do search and rescue, whatever, what could have happened? Again, total speculation here was that when the Iranians fired on these aircraft, they actually blew them up because the explosives that they were going to use to blow up the facility were probably still on the aircraft, right? And then that would blow the shitballs out of the. So the story then changes to, we scuttled our own aircraft. And then a Canadian-built Dash 8 came and saved the Americans. Just so just saying. I'm not kicking you when you're down. I'm just saying I'm glad you guys made it out safe. But what is being questioned is the skull in the wreckage. I've only seen a couple of little pictures of it, but I can imagine that there was probably people killed. So whose skull is that? Like you're telling me the U.S. Air Force just flies around with like a skull on their C-130s, right in the dash or something. I don't know. It's like, hey, that's our war emblem. There we go. Yeah. So my hunch is that that's gonna be somebody from America. Like who's in that, and then all these IDs of like Israeli female maintenance engineer. You got one of those. Again, is that just stuff that's on the aircraft naturally? I don't know. Um, it's hard to say. But my hunch is that I think the Iranians probably did shoot these things as they were coming in, and then there was like no way out, and then they had to get the other aircraft. How many people made it onto that aircraft? I don't know. So how many people died in that raid? I don't know. How many people were injured in that raid? I don't know. Will we ever know? Like, we'll probably hear about it like 10, 15 years. Like, they always tell you about it when the people that could be prosecuted for crimes against humanity and illegal wars are dead and gone, right? So it's like, yeah. But yeah, it's not looking good. Like the story just got so many holes in it, literally bullet holes. It's not looking good. But the warship thing, I do believe that the goal there is simple. If they can, antagonize the Ukrainians or the Iranians into destroying an oligarch during the peace talks, it green lights more attacks, right? But then also too, if you're the Iranians, it's like no, let them bring in as many ships as they want. The more they do, the quicker we can sink them. You know what I mean? And that would be an absolute nightmare disaster for the United States. However, you have to understand that this is kind of what Donald Trump and Lindsey Graham, they want these people killed, because what they're looking at is that if they could sink the ship, kill like 250 sailors or whatever, or 160 sailors on an Ollieburg, or like 3,000 to 5,000 sailors on an aircraft carrier, it'll get the U.S. rally around the flag, and everybody will want everybody. They'll want to. What their thinking is that it's like it creates. They're thinking it's going to create like a Pearl Harbor 9/11 effect, where we got to go get the bad guys, even when we don't have all the evidence. We'll just go and take out Saddam, right? Right. But it's not going to work this time, because everybody knows that's what they want, right? They don't care about killing all these soldiers. I still don't know how like anybody in the military can think that the government cares about you. It just I understand serving your country, but like these people that are naive about it, I don't get that. But then again, normies, right? You know, like. Up here in Canada, there's been like a 13% boost in military recruitment, right? But you could be signing up just to go die in the Ukraine. You never know. Like, I don't think for a second that if Carney had the military he wanted, we'd be probably flying over Moscow. You know what I mean? Again, mob bosses fighting, right? So it's like, okay, same with Macron. You know what I mean? Like, he's pretty nuts too. But he knows that France can't take Iran, right? So he's not going to bother getting involved with it. The UK, like especially with the warships, like all their warships, basically defunded due to DEI and woke and all that stuff, and immigrants, right? They were able to get like one warship up and going, maybe two. And it's not like they have bad stuff there. Like the UK has like state of the art stuff. They're probably, as far as Western militaries go, they're probably just a notch behind the United States in advancement, even if it's not as big a military. But like they equip, like the Type 45 destroyer is a damn good destroyer. The British submarines are pretty good when they're working. You know what I mean? So the problem is people are looking at this and then it's like, okay, yeah, there's no way we can go, like the UK can go toe to toe with Russia. I don't think the Russians could like do boots on the ground the way they are in Ukraine. You have to understand, like the Ukraine is the easiest country in the world for Russia to invade. It's pretty much all flat farmland. You know what I mean? And look at how difficult that is. You know what I mean? Getting over into an island, like, look, the reason why Germans couldn't really get into the UK in World War II was because it was an island. If the UK was where France was, for example, everybody would be calling the British the cowards, right? you know. And again, the French thing, like the French weren't cowards. I mean, the French resistance fought they fought a very, very well trained German military, um, with like pitchforks and basically shotguns, right? So calling the French, oh well, they surrendered. But they didn't surrender. It's half the French were, uh, sympathetic to the Germans. The other half weren't. It wasn't. There was no surrender. Like it was mutual. Like there were Germany had allies before the war, and they had enemies before the war. That's all it was. So like Switzerland, for example, they stayed neutral, but they were sort of allies in a way. Ireland was sort of allies with the Germans. You know what I mean? But they stayed neutral. So when basically British and there was a British Spitfire pilot got shot down by an ME 109, and he managed to just be able to shoot down the ME 109 German pilot just before he crashed, right? So both planes went down, and the German pilot, the British pilot, sat there until the Irish came, picked them up, and they were basically held captive till the end of the war. Yeah, apparently they had a good time. Because it's like, oh no, you guys violated our airspace. That's it. You're out of the war. Lucky them. So yeah, but like the Irish allowed the Nazis to use their ports. The Swedes were sort of on the fence. You know what I mean? So it wasn't people choking and like Trump throwing all these insults to the French. Look, you can complain a lot of things about the French. Don't get me wrong. Like I'm in Canada, I live in Quebec. Trust me, I complain about the French all the time. But like you got to be accurate on these things too, and look at it for the history that it was. You know what I mean? And when you do, it's like you're going to realize that when we look back in history on this one, it's going to look very, very bad. Like Vietnam was considered like the American, like, how do I put this? Vietnam, okay, was what ended the draft, right? Because it was just like pulling people into a war that nobody wanted on the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which didn't happen. Henry Kissinger, like again, these false flags. Like these fucking cocksuckers come out and tell you, yeah, we did a false flag to get us into the war. Remember, not the Mark Carney that's running my country right now, but that other Mark Carney guy talking about getting a war going with Iran, but way back in 2012, 2011, 2003, whatever it was, that if Iran won't start the war, perhaps maybe we need to do a false flag to get it going. Like this was said, where Carolyn Levitt stands and tells you lies all day? Right there. He was the White House press secretary, right? And it's like they said it out loud. Like you do realize you're talking about war crimes, but because nobody ever there's no rule of law, nobody ever gets held to account. You know what I mean? But that's exactly what this is. Like, look, bringing in the draft, saying, well, you're automatically, if you're this age, you're in the draft. Yeah, they can arrest a few people or whatever. But look, as the weather gets nicer, like look at all the protesting going on right now. It's at record levels everywhere. Like people are ready for civil war at this point. And again, the lynching of politicians and stuff like that is going to become a thing in the near future, within 2 to 3 years probably. It's just people can't tolerate these globalists anymore. Like they're just. I'm not making any threats. It's just today. Like look, the trucker convoy in Canada is kind of like the last bastion of peaceful protest. This Ireland thing is a mimic of that as well, from its own like its own thing, but it all comes from the same place. Rattly window. And the thing about it is, like in the States, yes, you have the progressive woke and stuff like that. They're everywhere. I get it. They're all over the world. Up here in Canada, everybody's mocking us for the NDP thing. Yeah, but to me, I'm happy to see it. And I'll tell you why, because I know that no sane person watching that will vote for the NDP. It'll destroy that party once and for all. Like The NDP was a communist party, and they called them, the New Democratic Party because it was illegal at the time to be associated with a communist party, right? In Canada, it was, like at the time we took on like some Ukrainian and Hungarian people who were fleeing the Soviet Union, right? And they were worried about, basically, and Poland and places like that, about basically Soviet communist infiltration, right? So call it the McCarthyism or whatever. He wasn't wrong. Like McCarthy, trust me, if we would have went more along with what him, okay, sure, there was maybe he would have got us into a nuclear war. It's hard to say, but we wouldn't be dealing with progressive woke now, right? They would have kept the Frankfurt School of Thought out of the like they would have cracked down on all these like woke Jewish communist ideology that's been brought in, right? And everybody, it's all front and center now. Like it's just at this point, you're either the woke left and completely there's nothing that can be done for you because you're so brainwashed, or you are anti-globalist, whatever. And the thing is that there's still the people like on the left, like there's some people sort of coming out of the ether on the left. Like the right is coming out of the ether a lot faster. We have been anyway. But now, like, there's no, like, when you have Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson, and Megyn Kelly, who are, to me, always kind of more like gatekeepers, even if they were, they'd take you, they were like a stepping stone to the truth, right? Where they'd take you, just enough where you got Alex Jones pretty much outright. I'm against Trump now. If you didn't see the interview with Alex Jones and that PJ or JP guy there, the redhead guy, comedian guy, doing the IQ test for Alex Jones, fucking, it was pretty funny, pretty funny. But the thing is that like Alex Jones has to call out the Jewish problem, like he does, because the sooner you do, the sooner you admit the problem, the sooner you can deal with the problem. It's like the Jewish people, okay, as a group, cannot self-reflect, and they're believing these radical ideologies that whether it's progressivism and that whole communism, we have to take down the colonialist West and fight Edom and whatever, or if they're doing it from the religious faction or the satanic faction of it, or just we're the chosen people. It doesn't really matter, but it's all coming front and center. Like, look, Anna Kasparian, okay, probably one of the most insufferable people to listen to, but once in a while she is pretty on point. Once in a while, she can be really, really, really off the mark, right? But what I'm seeing with the left is like the ones that are against this war and stuff like that, for the right reasons, they still have this problem of white supremacy. That Trump is doing this because he's a white supremacist. No, he's doing this because he's a Jewish supremacist. He is not a Nazi. Like everybody that calls him a Nazi and he's like the next Hitler. Well, obviously you don't know much about World War II. Obviously, go read Mein Kampf. Whether you like Hitler, you don't like Hitler, go read it. You'll see. At least you'll understand how the man thought to a good degree. And I know there's basically redacted versions of Mein Kampf or whatever. No, go get a hold of the most accurate version of it as you can. Some places it's illegal to buy, but there's a reason why they banned that book. Why you can't buy it, right? In some countries it's illegal to own it. Your mileage might vary, but there's a reason why. Because when you listen to it, it's like you could see, you might not agree with everything, but you could see exactly what he was saying. And if you were to read it right now, okay, the thing is you would watch Schindler's List at night, you'd probably be rooting for the Nazis. that's what I'm telling you. I'm not saying Hitler was right. I'm just saying he made some very, very, very accurate, basically, what you call it, observations. But his observations at that time were not much different than Churchill's or any other world leader on the Jewish question. Like it was a known thing about what these people stood for. They didn't all have the same solutions, but they knew, okay, well, the Jewish people tend to like to subvert. They tend to like to do that. They have these strange kind of customs that don't align with Western values. You could say that about Muslims, but you're not allowed to say that about Jews because oy vey, we're the chosen people and we're always persecuted, but a part of their religion is being persecuted, right? So you have to call it out for what it is. The problem is when they're disingenuous about it, that's where you get anti-Semitism and all these hate speech laws and everything like that, because like they won't be able to do what they're doing for much longer because the world is going to reject. Like I say, we're in the 110th explanation of the Jews. We've been in it for a little while now. And I told you would see it ramping up. And it's pretty much playing out exactly how I said. The timeline, who knows? Maybe it takes 30 years. Maybe it's done by next Monday. Who knows? But either way, it will be very, very fatal for the Jews this time around. Israel will not exist. Like Henry Kissinger, a massive Zionist. Like one of the biggest war criminals, in the modern era for mankind. Henry Kissinger, right? I hope he's burning in hell. But he said about 10 or 15 years ago, or just before he died, and I'd listen to him from time to time, not because I couldn't stand the guy's voice. Him and George Soros, I can't stand listening to him. But I listen to them even if it's triggering to listen to the people you don't like and you don't agree with. If you want to know how they think, like if I was a spy, I would listen to my enemy. You know what I mean? It'd be the first thing. Why? Because it's right from the horse's mouth. This is how I can be accurate on Donald Trump, because I don't sugarcoat any of the cheerleading stuff where, well, he's okay here. It's like, no, he's the bad guy. He's clearly the bad guy. And because I say Donald Trump is the bad guy, doesn't mean the person that opposes him is automatically the good guy. And that's unfortunately is how most people's brains work. That if Donald Trump is the bad guy, then whoever's opposing him is the good guy. Not necessarily. You're arguing over mob bosses fighting. What you're arguing about is, like, for example, like Klaus Schwab and Trump, there's really not much difference between the two, right? What you're arguing about is being eaten by an alligator or a crocodile. That's what you're arguing about, right? And what I have always tried to do with the channel, I get things wrong, I do. But what I've always tried to do is to get you to think. Not tell you how to think, but get you to think. Look, I got people in my comments all the time disagreeing on this and on that, and they come back because they know like the conversation is always open. I never censor my comments. It doesn't mean YouTube doesn't, but I myself never do it. I don't know what algorithm it is, but I know there's one that seems to like it holds back comments or whatever. And then every now and then I get like a notification that here's some ones you have to approve. Fuck. Like what? Like I didn't do that. It's a feature, not a bug, right? Yeah, it's the same reason why they got rid of all these. When we used to be able to like privately email each other on the YouTube, which was awesome, but they don't like people networking, right? So yeah, there's that. Oh, nobody was using it. The problem was everybody was using it, right? So, but what I'm telling you is that that's going to have like actions have consequences, and for Israel, like it's game over. Like their Greater Israel project is never going to work. What's happening is you're seeing the rise of a new power in the world, and that is Iran. This is Iran's moment to shine, and it's not like I'm giving them reigning endorsement. Like for example, like right now, the media, like they're going on about the protesters in Iran. Yes, the Iranians are knocking people off. There's no doubt about that. Yes, it's an oppressive regime, but I still stick by what I like when I said because somebody asked me about this. Like, well, Reg, what do you mean that the Iranian people support the regime? Most people don't. Well, the caveat is this: yes, they do support the regime. They like the average Iranian, probably 70-80% of them. I don't know what the exact number would be, are supporting the IRGC fighting the Americans and fighting Israel and fighting Zionism and globalism and all that, right? They're doing that. Does that mean they love their government? No. I've said it a million times. Every politician in the world has failed its people, bar none, including, just some are more tolerable than others. Like Frederiksen over there in the Netherlands, um, in Denmark, she's a little more tolerable than, say, Macron, but she's still a crazy leftist, right? The lady in Iceland, whatever, like she's left wing, whatever, but she's not destroying the world. You know what I mean? Starmer, unsufferably like horrible, right? Macron, unsufferably more horrible. The guy in Germany, same thing, insufferable. But they're still not. The guy in Spain, okay, he's a little bit whacked, sure, but he's sticking up to Trump. He's not just caving into Israel. Maloney, lover, hater. You know what I mean? Carney, love him, hate him. You know what I mean? So the Sweden, they're again, love and hate. Finland, same thing, like love it, hate it. But when you look at those people, they like, like basically when you make Macron, I can't say Starmer because there's just nobody likes Starmer at all. But Macron, okay, most of his people hate him. How he keeps staying in power, again, you know what I mean? It's not like Joseph Stalin said, it's not who votes, it's who counts the votes, right? But like you take Carney, like in Carney, overall, his approval, and I know the conservatives don't want to hear this, and I'm a conservative myself. I didn't vote for him, but overall, most people approve of Carney. Like there's some people that they just want him to fail so much, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want him to fail. We've suffered enough. Okay, I won't agree with the man on everything, but if we can get Stephen Harper level quality of life back, trust me, every Canadian is going to like it. It's just, it's to set us up for the next guy, right? Look, I don't really care if we have a Liberal Party if they're sane and they're doing more centrist things where they're not trying to completely wipe everybody out with hate speech laws and all that shit. The Carney government is doing some of that, not to the level of Trudeau, but he's also doing other things that are good economically. So we'll survive, the Carney years fairly well, but will people survive the? It doesn't mean we're not going to get like extreme rough patches, but the rough patches are inflicted on us by the United States, not by Carney. Like Carney is doing austerity. He's actually doing fucking austerity. He's actually using Keynesian economics the proper way. It's slow, it's tedious, right? Like you only see it in hindsight of how fast things actually move. So when you hear of $7 billion getting cut from native programs, okay, you might cheer that, but you might be mad that he's $78 billion over budget. But to stay only $78 billion over budget, he's going to cut this instead of that. Conservatives, when they come in, they cut in hospital stuff. They cut in, daycare. They cut the stuff that the Canadians actually want, but they still send out all the foreign aid the same way the Liberals do, right? It's just they pick their friends to send the foreign aid to. Carney hasn't really cut much foreign aid, which is like if you want to balance the budget, start with the UN. Start with Haiti, start with whatever. I doubt he would do that, but you never know because cutting anything from native groups at all is that's a political hot potato. Because, like, in order for Carney to do any austerity, like even the CBC has been treating him kind of like a mild conservative where they're critiquing from that, but he hasn't attacked the CBC yet, right? So I think the agreement that he probably has with the CBC is I'll leave you alone, you leave me alone. Where Trudeau, they pretty much, bolstered for him for like 6, 7 out of the 10 years. And then at the end, it's okay, the public opinion is so bad that we actually have to look like we're sort of critical. They're not. But what I'm getting at is that when you look at leadership around the world, the Iranian leadership, okay, you're trying to negotiate with a man now that you're calling unreasonable, okay? After you killed his father, his mother, his brother, some of his nieces and nephews, you've killed his wife, some of his children, and you're going to call him unreasonable, right? Look, the Iranians, if they don't have a nuclear weapon this time around, they have it the next time around. The only question now is not whether the Iranians have the nuclear weapon, is do they have the ICBM to send it to America? Iran is going to take the next phase of the war, like I said, to American soil. Because, especially if Israel nukes Iran. But, like, what do you nuke in Iran that's tactically viable? You know what I mean? Like the only thing that Israel would do, and again, the number one goal of the United States, the Donald Trump and his administration, and that the number one objective is to kill as many Iranians as possible. It's not about the nuclear program. It's not about the petrodollar. They don't care about that stuff. They make money whether no matter which way the market goes. What it's about is the Greater Israel Project stuff, and the only way you can get the Greater Israel Project is you have to kill all the people in the Middle East that are not Jewish. It's pretty much that simple. And you can wrap it in, oh well, this objective and that objective. That's just what the cheerleaders need to hear. You know what I mean? Like the pro-Trump people. Oh no, well we're doing negotiations because these unreasonable terrorist Iranians putting all this terror around the world. Meanwhile, they're the ones that are being just blindsidedly attacked for no reason. Sure, like again, and you get these people, these cheerleaders that, oh look the crimes against humanity that Iran is doing. Okay, well yes, you could probably say that rocket hitting desalination plants and stuff like that is a crime against humanity. Okay, if we agree on that, then the fact that they're responding to you hitting theirs, what does that mean? Where's the crimes against humanity against Israel? Where's the crimes against humanity against the Trump administration, right? Et cetera, et cetera. So the hypocrisy of and again, I get it. People spent so much time cheerleading for Trump because of the bullshit that people had to deal with under the radical left. But Trump, like if you're a right winger and you ever want to win, you cannot endorse Trump. You have to come out and call Trump. This is what made Pierre Poilievre lose the election, was the endorsement of Trump, right? It basically guaranteed he would lose the election. Trump is a leper, right? So if you don't have like 80% of Canadians hate Trump. The other probably 10% don't know what to make of it, and then there's maybe the 10% retards of Maple MAGA or whatever. But Biden is bad, and yeah, he was bad. He was horrible. Right? You got like the guys like the Quartering, who I normally like. But like when you're cheerleading, okay, oh look at it, we're sticking it to Iran kind of thing, because that oppressive Iranian regime. Yes, it's an oppressive regime, but they don't want your liberation. You're murdering their kids. You're murdering their civilians. Like again, most of these trucks that you see getting blown up are just like regular delivery trucks with like goat cheese and freaking hummus in it. You know what I mean? Every truck is a part of the regime. These bridges. Oh well, the regime uses that. Oh, these schools. Well, the regime uses that. You know what I mean? Like, okay, you're just being a genocidal maniac is what you're doing. These are not well thought out strikes. Like 6 weeks, 9,000 or 10,000 or whatever thousands of strikes. That's not well thought out. 6 weeks, 18 strikes on specific targets. That's well thought out. No, this is just genocide for grandiosement of Trump's ego. And whatever Netanyahu wants. And Netanyahu wants to murder everybody that's not Jewish. I mean, he even wants to kill half the Jews. I mean, the Jews hate each other. Like, there's like 123 different tribes of Jews. And right now they're trying to stuff the tunnel Jews, the Ashkenazi ones, the Orthodox ones, the ones that are always found in the tunnels there. Yeah. They're trying to get those guys onto the front line like that. Yeah, these guys, no, I don't think they're going to be too good at fucking fighting. You know what I mean? But they might use them as cannon fodder, I guess. I don't know. Like, how would you even train a guy like that? You know what I mean? Like these are guys that if a woman touches them, they fucking scream in convulsions. Like, I mean, it's hilarious to watch. Like, they're so bizarre. Oh, you're just so intolerant of other people's. But when it's that fucked up, yeah, of course. This idea that we have to tolerate absolutely everything is just like we're so tolerant our brains are going to fall out. No, like these people, you want to swing your dead chick and do it in Israel. You know what I mean? Like don't, it's like why are we pandering to these people? Oh, they got a bit of money. Yeah, but they're nuts. They're absolutely insane. Like, I mean, Sheldon Adelson, how much did she pay of the money she paid was for Trump to guarantee to drop a nuke on Iran? You know what I mean? Like, that's the goal is how do we find a way to justify to the American people and to the world that we're going to drop nukes on Iran. I mean, like Trump going on about how NATO betrayed him and all this and all the allies are useless and everything. Okay, you start a war without telling your friends that you're going to start a war, and then complain when they don't want to join in. Like that's exactly what happened. So again, there is no we don't use the strait, so whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, but the Iranians are fighting you on a whole new level. Like the Iranians are winning. They are winning. Okay, if you're just going by who blew up more, yes, America blew up more targets than the Iranians did. Sure, granted. But who's doing more damage? Okay? Like Iran is fighting you with missiles. Okay? They're fighting you with drones. Okay. That's the big bang. That's the popcorn show. But where they're really hitting the United States is they've got the global economy by the short and curlies. That is more than any missile fired. You're talking hundreds of billions, maybe even trillions of dollars that have been lost in revenue probably in the past 6 weeks because of this, like everybody's fuel prices going up, right? This is going to cripple the world economy. When gas, like it's $2, it was $2.01 here, something like that yesterday morning. Okay, and my buddy's like, look at the gas price. Look at the fucking gas, and they still don't get it. I said, yeah, but I said it's going to go up to $4 to $8 a liter, like in within the next year and a half. And like nobody's going to believe me until they see it. Even when they see it, they're going to be like, I can't believe that. Americans when they hit $8 a gallon, their economy is just going to implode like a fucking. It's just going to fold like a deck of cards. Like Americans don't know what high fuel prices are. They've never experienced it. And the thing is that like Canada, we've always had high fuel prices. Europe, they've always had high fuel prices because what they do, and it's not just here in Canada, it's pretty much everywhere else in the West but the United States, is most of our fuel price is anywhere like 85% of it is tax, right? So you take away just the taxes and whatever. So that's what's keeping everything going, right? Now with the Americans, they don't quite do that, but they don't really have any social programs or anything really. Everything's more run from the state, right? So maybe some states do tax that way. But the thing is that their economy, everybody's economy runs on the fuel, like the food, everything like that. But that's also what shuts down your economy is the operational costs. Like the Americans, they pay the people the least amount they can because they're capitalists, right? A lot of their like the average American makes like $8 an hour. You know what I mean? Like that's like you know what I mean. Where the average Canadian makes about $15 to $20 an hour, right? Now that said, we're taxed way more. There's no doubt about that. No one's gonna, but when you measure it across the board, the average Canadian fares out better because at least we have a unemployment insurance. At least we have, hospitals. Sure, you can complain about the single payer hospital system, but when you just drop like something like I forget what the 6 weeks of like almost $500 billion worth of war in 6 weeks. Like how is that sustainable? It's so fucking ridiculous. In 6 weeks, and they can say that we can't have a single payer healthcare system because that would be socialism. But you can spend all this money like bombing on behalf of the Jews, like it's crazy. And I know there's a lot of Jews that are against this war. I'm not lost on that. But in general, most of them are for it. Most Israelis are genocidal maniacs. It's the way it's in the breed. It's the way they grew up. Like again, like you can call me all kinds of names, but I'm not wrong. Don't take my word for it. Listen to them. Listen to there's no shortage of IDF photos, videos beating up on like kids, Palestinian children, like stealing their bikes, you know, beating them up, breaking their arms. Again, but it's funny. Like the UN calls it out, but it's like, okay, we went and bombed Milosevic for crimes against humanity and genocide, and when you compare it to what Israel has done for decades, like it's like, well, you reap what you sow. Everybody hates you now, right? But at one point, you have to understand the B-52s that are bombing Iran today. When the United States loses this war to the point where even the cheerleaders understand they've lost, because you've already lost the war. Again, 8% of the world's fertilizer is being basically controlled by Iran. That is one fuck of a playing card. The United States can't do that. 20% of the world's oil is controlled by Iran. You know what I mean? Like the Strait, nothing has changed in the Strait. So what's Donald Trump going to do? Well, if Iran can basically charge people $2 million a freighter, well, we're going to charge them too. We're going to do a naval blockade and we're going to charge them too. Like, if Iran is robbing people through this method, which makes more sense because it's like, okay, well, this is how we're going to pay for the damage you fuckers done, but our friends can go through if they got our permission. And you're just going to say, well, no, we're going to use the U.S. pirate Navy to blockade Cuba, but while we're at it, we're going to go steal oil from everybody else and charge them, hold their freighters ransom, right? Yeah. Like I say, the United States is about to go to war with 40 to 45 different countries in a shooting war. Like, it's not going to work out well for the Americans. Because you can only piss people off around the world so much, right? The sanctions will be in within 6 months on the United States. It's going to be the bizarrest thing to see all the stuff that is going to get blockaded from the United States. It's going to be weird. Like, people are just like, yeah, no, we found new partners. We're not trading with you anymore. You're already seeing that, right? You're seeing that's why everybody's pivoting to Canada. They're either pivoting to China, or they're going to pivot to Canada, or they're going to pivot to the EU. That's where, or the BRICS, right? And like the Iranians are not, they're taking losses, but like, look, we don't know what the war dead actually is, right? The only thing the Iranians haven't done is decapitation strikes. Why they haven't done it, I don't know, but I do believe by the end of July, the Iranians are going to start to kill American politicians, because that's where all this, like, again, I'm not making any threats. I'm just saying I don't see how they don't factor this into the equation. Like, okay, here's all these Jewish donors that are donating to Trump's campaign. It's like, okay, well, without their money, what I mean? Like, they're going to draw the conclusion, right? So they might start there. I don't know. It's going to be spy vs. spy. Most likely active duty law enforcement murdering judges and lawyers and stuff like that, because they know who all the corrupt people are, right? And we can't even get like the Epstein people in jail, which is more like Pat Bond, you said, it would collapse the system. It's the same thing Eric Holder said for the 2008 crash. We can't arrest all the banksters or we'd collapse the system. Well, maybe that system needs to go, right? And again, the Epstein class, again, like, was Epstein one of the kingpins of the world? I don't know. I don't think he worked for the Mossad as much as people think he does. I think he was probably running the Mossad. Like, again, you can't have all that. And again, if that's your average Mossad agent, can you imagine how deep the corruption goes if that's just one guy, right? I don't know. But I started thinking about it. It's like, that makes sense. So whoever Mr. Global is, the top dogs in power, you have to understand, like, the banks fund both sides. Rothschilds fund both sides of every war, with probably the exception of Iran, because Iran and North Korea are, I think, the only two countries that don't have a Rothschild bank, right? So, yeah, I think what we're going to see is that we're going to start to hear from the soldiers that were boots on the ground or on the aircraft carriers, and it's going to leak out eventually that what is actually happening. There's always like a few months delay or whatever, because again, if they truly save these pilots, They would be parading them around like heroes. They'd be back in the States doing their, their war bond, basically tours. You know what I mean? They would be talking to the SEAL teams, even masking. Oh yeah, we went in, we did this, we did that, or Rangers, or whoever, Green Berets, or whoever they sent in. I think half the guys probably got killed. Like looking at the carnage of the ships or the airplanes, I think it's more like what the Iranians. And again, there's these people that they can't believe that Iran has any competence whatsoever. And I'm not saying they're overconfident, but I'm saying if you're landing in enemy territory close to a fairly, like only a few miles from a population center, and even Trump was out there saying the other day, like everybody there is armed. You got farmers fucking shooting at fucking C-130s on camera with the guy's granddaughter, shoot him. Yeah, his fucking dad in the background, a 100-year-old man saying, oh, shoot it, fucking hit it. So there was this Mosley gun. So if that's your farmer, and then you're going to try to tell me that, oh, the suppressive regime, everybody wants to overthrow it. I have no doubt there's, like, again, the Iranian protests in Ottawa. And so, first, what's concerning to me is that there's that many of them here. We shouldn't have that many Iranians here to form a protest. We shouldn't have that many Jews here to form like fucking Zionist wars and shit. Like it shouldn't be, But that's the problem when you allow dual citizenship in your governments, right? It should never be allowed to do that. No other governments outside the West do this. The Russians don't do this. The Israelis definitely don't let anybody that's not Jewish run in their government. You might find one exception to the rule, but the guy's like so Zionist that it doesn't matter. Yeah, because I mean look, when the refugees start coming in such hordes that it's just going to create civil war anyway. Like I said, like within the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see death ditches all over the West. The only question is who's going in them. Right now, it's going to be mainly the white people because, and it's going to be mostly white liberals because they're the ones that are dumb enough to go, oh well, we're the oppressors and we're the it's like you do not understand the world at all. You still see again. You guys remember those two Swedish girls that went backpacking in fucking Morocco and got their heads cut off? Yeah, one of them. I think both of them were on what was that Australian guy's name with the boat? Anyway, Into the Blue, I think something like that. I think was the name of the channel. Anyway, I believe it was that Lulu girl from there, and I'm like, because I saw the picture, I'm like, that's her. It was about a year after she was on that show or that YouTube channel, and she, again, one of these liberal world travelers, not understanding that most of the world hates us. I'm not a hateful person. I don't hate everybody around the world, but I do understand how the propaganda has. We bring in minorities and tell them to start complaining about being oppressed, right? From white privilege and again all this stuff. And again, anybody that's going to believe that in the near future, it's going to kill you. Like these minorities, you're blowing up their countries. They're going to get even, right? Look, we had another, the city of Ottawa was now like they found a dead lady the other day. There was a shooting. There was a warehouse got burnt down because the guy thought he was Luigi Mangione, the guy that killed the pharmaceutical tycoon there, or whatever. This is what we're dealing with, like these really unhinged people. Wait till the weather gets warm. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. But those are the people that want the system to fail. Those are the people, and it's not just on the left; it's on the right too. Like, oh, Carney has to fail because like everybody can get a deal with Trump. Why can't we get a deal with Trump? Because Trump doesn't want a deal. He just wants he wants to take over. He wants to kill Canadians and take over Canada, and he wants to kill the Greenlanders and take over Greenland. He wants to kill the Cubans and take over Cuba. This again. It's not a far stretch. He is that. If he's a Zionist, he's a genocidal maniac. You cannot believe in Zionism without believing in genocide. It's impossible. It's not about Israel's right to exist. It's a little bit more. there's a little more to it than that. Again, just don't take my word for it. Just listen to these genocidal maniacs talk. They just hate everybody. They're evil. It's evil. And the thing is going forward, what we're going to see, like, I mean, you got people on the right saying, "Oh, anybody that's against this, because Trump is doing it, well, you're just a libtard, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me? Name one conservative thing that fucking Trump has done." You know what I mean? For any little good that he has done, he's well destroyed any of that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anybody still on the Trump train, like when Alex Jones jumps off the Trump train, that's pretty far gone. Like, I mean, Tucker Carlson, the same thing. Like, they still can't say the full, okay, it's the Jews. And again, it doesn't have to be all of them. It's just whether they're communist, George Soros type, tear down the West with white, a victim oppressor, and down with colonialism and misogyny, and all, whether those type of Jews, or they're the Henry Kissinger neocon, we have to go to war for the chosen people everywhere type of Jews, it doesn't really matter. It's all destructive of our nation, right? And if you just fight the machinations, that's good enough. Because these machinations are what's, like the Agenda 21, the Agenda 2030, the Trans-Pacific Partnership. This stuff is all designed to hurt our own people, right? And again, mass immigration, it's a weapon. Like it always was a weapon. It will always be a weapon. Oh, but we need all this talent. Well, I'll put it to you this way. The doctors and lawyers, yeah, if they're doctors and lawyers from pretty much any country, they're probably not going to be coming into your country via raft. You know what I mean? They're probably not going to be doing that, right? The government probably isn't going to have to, funnel them in and pay for their flight tickets. It's like, again, but again, you got people so far brainwashed that they're going to go along with it to their own detriment. Again, you're trying to defend being eaten by an alligator or a crocodile. Trump is evil. His administration is evil. Netanyahu is evil. Sure, the Iranian regime is no good, but it's not up to us. Like, if the Iranian people truly wanted the regime gone, they would have done like the Egyptians in 2011 and overthrow them. They didn't. So the Iranian regime, yes, I'm sure you can find tons of Iranians that we have to, keep bombing because, whatever. But these Iranians, they enjoy the bombing to overthrow the regime when they think it's just IRGC guys getting killed. But when they hear about, your little niece just got bombed in a school, guess what happens? They're no longer anti-IRGC. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, you mean those guys are shooting back at the guys that are killing, my people? You know what I mean? Like, again, you don't have to tell me how oppressive the Iranian regime is. I don't have any love for that regime. But it's not my problem. I'm Canadian. I only care about Canada. I don't care about what happens over there. It's horrible that it's happening, but that's up to those people to deal with that. That's up to the Iranian people. When you have Iranian people here in Canada or in the States or whatever, well, if you were so opposed to your regime, you should have stayed there and fought it. You know what I mean? Look, I understand. What's being talked about there. I mean, that sure, to overthrow the regime, you're talking bloodshed. Yeah, right. I get it. I'm not calling for that, but I understand that's what it would take. Sure. But on the other hand, this idea that America is going to bomb you back into prosperity and take care of all these poor protesters. You have to understand a lot of these protesters are Mossad agents, or if they're not Mossad agents, or CIA agents, or other actors, or rebel groups, or whatever, that are going around doing the chaos. Now, the odd Iranian that's actually just opposing their government, yes, those guys get killed in the mix too. There's no doubt about that. And the Iranians are not going to take forever and a day to discern this combatant from that combatant. Like, if you're attacking IRGC guys, and there's reports of Iranians, again, you can call it a little. This happens in every kind of war where you do get like a civil war faction that goes along with it. So yes, there is probably Iranians shooting at IRGC guys, right? Because they're just the other tribe, Sunni Shia stuff or whatever. Yes, there are tribal factions in Iran that are against the regime, right? So they're just fighting on. You saw it in Syria, like on mass scale, right? It's a little bit of that. But that said, the majority of Iranians, like there's still, again, there is propaganda out there too, but the majority of Iranians are not for this war. There's no way, like Donald Trump out there saying, oh, the people saying, oh, just send more bombs, keep it up, keep it up. If you got a couple of sickos like that, I mean, I get it. Like, we get it here in Canada. Trump needs to invade Canada. Like, fuck you. Get out of my country. You fucking treasonous bastard. You know what I mean? Because they hate Carney so much that they want American bombs killing Canadians, right? Again, okay, I get it. There's retards out there. But the average Canadian conservative that does not like Carney does not want American bombs and regime change over Ottawa. You know what I mean? They don't want, even your average Albertan separatist doesn't want to kill other Canadians. You know what I mean? Like, it's even your Quebec separatist doesn't want to kill the average Canadian. You know what I mean? And we already fought with them. For like 250 years out of our 500-year history. You know what I mean? Like, we already fought with the French. And even at that, most of the French that fought were fighting on the British side. Because they were against the fucking monarchy, the French monarchy, right? They were against King Louis. They were against you know what I mean? They fought on behalf of having a sovereign Canada. Again, pick up a history book once in a while. Not the revised stuff, but pick up an older history book. You'll see what I mean. You'll see what I mean. So it's like, this idea that the Iranians, sure, they want the regime gone. I get that, but they don't want their people killed. They are not supporting Trump. That's the rebel news kind of crowd. A lot of these people are. They're basically, and again, I listen to them too. Like they're like, we're against the regime or whatever. But ask them, like, how do you feel about the Donald Trump bombing? And they're like, oh, that not so much. You know what I mean? They're not happy about that. It's these conservatives that are out there still trying to pander for Donald Trump, saying, oh yeah, look, all these Iranians are so happy that no. If you look at the destruction that's been done in Iran, it is beyond crimes against humanity. Like, I mean, they're murdering civilians left, right, center. Why? Because the number one objective in Iran is to kill Iranians. It's not to get rid of an oppressive regime. If you want to start with oppressive regimes, start in Israel. You know what I mean? So it's never about human rights and women and children and democracy. And there are still people that they want to believe that they're the good guy, right? So it's like, no, the Americans are the bad guys in this one. Big time. It doesn't mean the Iranian regime is good. It just means Israel and the Americans are the genocidal maniacs that started a war against people that weren't attacking. Oh, but they've been funding terrorism for 47 years. Okay, yeah. Look a little deeper into that. Don't believe that Fox News talking points. Like, look, Fox News, they were upset that there was a peace deal ceasefire. They're, oh, we can't do that. The Iranians will get the upper hand. Blah, blah, blah. It's like death and destruction. These people are just fucking evil, pure evil. And even at that, like, the only people that are going to believe Fox News is like your geriatric boomer that just that just doesn't understand the world. You know what I mean? They believe what they're being told is true because everything on the internet is fake news, right? But look. There's fake news everywhere. There's no doubt about that. And it is hard to discern. Like I say, if you turn on a video and you hear an AI voice, shut it off. And look, a lot of the people you're listening to, the AI is already grifting onto them. It's like, hey, I was looking at a guy the other night, and you can always tell just by the way they talk, like their head doesn't move. They do this. When you watch somebody talk, they're all over the fucking place, right? AI is still not quite there yet, but it's scary. Because they will fool you for a few minutes, and then you listen, okay, that's not happening. And it's just stuff made up. And a lot of it is probably just the algorithms. But somebody's setting these algorithms out there for the PR of it. And some of it is just about sowing the seeds of flooding, like you take a truth and you surround it with bizarre circumstances that are untrue, so that when people hear anything, they're just like, oh no, it's fake news, it's fake news, it's fake news. But there is stuff that you can verify, right? So go with what you can verify. But what I'm saying is we're only getting half of what's verified. It's like, my hunch is that we're going to find out in a week or two that there's a whole bunch of U.S. prisoners in Iran. We're going to find out that there's a whole bunch of war dead there. Again, it's amazing how they've been able to keep everything under wraps. But I think it's just because of the destruction that there's a delay in it getting out to the public. Like, again, the Chinese, every time they send us satellite photos, those American bases don't look too fucking healthy. You know what I mean? It's like you see, okay, here's the day before, and there's all these aircraft there, and here's the smoldering holes where the aircrafts were, and you see like pieces of a wing and pieces of, you know, again, so whatever's been destroyed is probably 10 times more. Whatever the death count is, it's probably 10 to 20, maybe 30, 40, 50 times more. So there's probably thousands of U.S. soldiers that have been killed. There's about 50,000 in the region. And again, what happened to all these landing craft? My hunch is that those guys have went on a search party to find bodies. That's like those are the, like, that's probably the real you know, like the real what you call it, operations is, okay, we got to get everybody out of the embassies, we got to get everybody off the bases. You know, that's probably what's happening, what's truly happening. While everybody's distracted on, okay, there's going to be a beach amphibious, you know, D-Day style landings in Iran. I'm not saying they wouldn't try it. Like, again, like, you know, like Donald Trump sending these warships to the Strait, like, the commanders that are doing this, like, these captains have to be completely fucking insane, because how could they not see that, okay, we're going to be used as sacrificial lambs? The idea is that if we can get the Iranians to sink a warship while we're in peace talks, we can call off the peace talks, right? The Iranians are probably looking at this, yeah, they want us to sink those, so we'll wait till after the peace talks, after the 2 weeks, and once we're armed up, once we have what we want, and we're ready to go again, then we'll just sink them. By that time, they'll have probably pulled the... When you see those warships leave the Strait, then you know they're about to start fighting again, right? So, because Donald Trump needs some sort of a bravado win for the John Pugh public to get the, you know, the rally, like, you know, this idea that the U.S. is doing minesweeping in that area, it's like, yeah, they could be doing it. That's a possibility. But the second the Iranians want to stop it, there's nothing the Americans can do. Those ships will, they're completely defenseless, really. Like, even with all the weaponry on board, two Ollieburgs against like a 1.6 square million miles of a fort, you know, the Iranian fort. No, like cruise missiles, whenever they want an anti-shipping missiles, like dead reckoning, those missiles will probably hit the ship in like a two, you know, in the Strait. Like if you're where the mines are, you're like, you've got like a two. Most of those ships wouldn't even be able to do a UE in that area. It's only like 2 miles. You know, like you know what I mean. It'd be hard enough to do a UE just with an Ollieburg in a 2 mile. You know what I mean? Like you could do it, but like, you know, like at speed, at cruise speed, yeah, it takes a long time to turn. It might take 30 seconds to a minute to turn the ship around. By that time, like you've hit the shoreline, you know, or ran into a freaking sea mine. Yeah, which still might happen yet. Again, so these guys, I don't think they're as close to the Strait as Trump is saying. Again, you can't believe a single word he says. But what I'm also thinking too is that, again, these guys are just being dangled as red meat, hoping that the Iranians can shoot so that you know the Americans say, oh well, we tried the peace talks and the Iranians were unreasonable and they started the war up and you know, they broke the ceasefire and blah blah blah. And now we have to rally around the flag because they killed our sailors and whatever. But anybody on these warships, again, I understand the just following order government mule types. I truly get that, but do they really not realize how like that like their lives they've been just basically thrown to the wolves? You know, it's like, okay, you do realize they want the Iranians to kill you so that, you know, like you're being used as a freaking like that's how evil this is. It's like, who can't say, oh, well, you're not a military planner, how would you know? The U.S. military is undefeatable, blah blah blah. again, the cheerleader types. Again, no military. You could send the Russian military. You can send the Ukrainian military or the Russian Navy. You could send the Chinese Navy with their best warships, and they would still be in the same problem. Like the problem is proximity to like a big bombardment of anti-shipping missiles. It's just, you can't make it any simpler than that. Like, no sane, rational captain would put a ship in that kind of harm's way. Like, I get it, there might be the odd captain that thinks he can actually pull it off because, oh, we're America. Look, we just did a raid on Maduro, and with, again, the blessings of the the Venezuelans, basically. Yes, okay, his guys sold him out, fine. But the Maduro raid, trust me, it didn't go according to plan the way they said it did. Guys got injured, probably, and a few guys got killed. They're just not going to tell you, right? But that seems to be the word on the grapevine. But basically they threw Maduro under the bus. And guess what? All the oil companies, Trump. Oh, we're going to get all this oil. Yeah, they're like, yeah, we're not going in there. Like that's an unstable regional. We're not going to go on to deal with unstable oil. So that oil was not for the United States anyway. It's going to Israel to keep Israel going, right? So this war was pre-planned to a great deal on the American side. It wasn't just the United States. Oh, Israel started to attack and we had to go bail them out. No. This was a joint plan with Israel. The truth always reveals itself in time. Even if you don't have all the details, you can see how the pieces line up. And it's just like, okay, yeah, we get it. It's a real bad situation for Americans. And I understand the ones that are just, okay, we see the radical left, how they cope with things, with insanity. The radical right is going to do the same thing. That, no, we're winning. No, really, guys, like, have you had enough winning yet? you know what I mean? Because he's sticking it to the libtards. Oh, he's sticking it to the EU. Remember when he was sticking it to the EU with that trade deal, and that's it, the EU was folded and everything? Well, they didn't, number one. And number two, it backfired on the Americans and making things cost more expensive in the States. And the jobs didn't come in. Now you've got all these crises with aluminum and lumber and all that stuff. Well, we're offsetting that up here in Canada. Like, okay, well, you don't want to buy our aluminum and stuff like that. That's fine, but we're going to, and what has Canada done? Well, under Joe Biden, like, Joe Biden was probably more America first than what fucking Trump was. He brought in at least a law that said, okay, well, national projects in the United States are going to use American resources first, right? Okay, I understand that. Like, I'm not mad at Biden for doing that. I wouldn't be mad at Trump for doing that. But when Carney does, oh my God, that's it. He's so anti-American. And look at that. He's like trying to destroy the relationship between the United States and Canada. And it's like, Carney he's not even paying attention to the States right now. He's like, okay, no, they don't want to do business with. They called off the trade deals. Notice that how we didn't, again, when Trump called off the trade talks because his faggot ego got fucking hurt because of Doug Ford's commercial, with Ronald Reagan. And the thing is, what we were supposed to do is go crawling back to the United States. No, we'll come to the table. And Carney says, well, they called it off, and whenever they're ready to, resume talks, we're ready to go. We'll be happy to host them, whatever. Till then, the ball's in their court, right? And then you got some of these, conservative MAGA guys going down and doing, like, oh, we got to go meet with the Trump administration. And we just want to give you the message, Donald Trump loves you. Look, even Daniel Smith gave up on going down to Mar-a-Lago. It's like, okay, and she did the right thing. Okay, at the beginning, it was Team Canada, conservatives and liberals and everybody in between and on the fringes. Let's get together. Let's fix this. Let's go down. Let's appease Trump. Do the best we can. Okay, we'll do the best on the border. We'll try to make it as easy to get through this, whatever. And then it didn't matter what you did for Trump. Like, Trump, basically, every time Carney has pandered to Trump, Trump throws him under the bus and moves the goalposts. And it's well documented. It's not, I like Carney, this is what he's done. Carney's like, okay, the Americans are a waste of time. They're not a reliable trade partner. Unfortunately, we're super fucking hooked to them. But and Americans are like, whoa, 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 like, why are we fucking over our best, like bourbon? It was Carney put a pot shot down. Anybody have a glass of bourbon lately? Kind of, I can imagine people in Kentucky wouldn't find that joke too funny right now. But like again, you got Rand Paul from Kentucky going, hey, whoa, 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 like, just like maybe like back off the fucking trade whatever. And same thing with California. It's like, no, we want to do trade with you. We like Canada has the biggest alky, like the number one nation of alkies or something. Like we're the number one consumers of alcohol in the world per capita. Like, you know what I mean? Like we buy more alcohol from anybody else than anybody else buys from anybody else in the world. Like, I don't know if that's something to be proud of, but if you're the guys that are in that industry, in that business, whether you're in California with the wine or you're in Kentucky with the bourbon, you're like, Canada, we love you because you guys drink a lot. You know what I mean? Hey, want to try our new brew? Here we go. And that right now, that's off limits to most provinces. And most provinces, it's not even that it's off limits. It's just the people aren't buying American products as much. I love American products. I'll be first to admit it. You see my guitar collection. It's all American except for the Ibanez stuff. But I love American products. You know what I mean? But on the other hand, it's also, you got to look at it from, well, it's so unstable. Like the vehicle sales, for example, I think it's not Toyota, Hyundai. I think is now the it's either Toyota or Hyundai is now the number one vehicles manufacturer in Canada. It used to be like Ford. It used to be, again, I don't know what all the losses are. And like I said, the trade war from last year will take 1.5 to 2 years to really feel the effects. And we're still not at the full effects of the trade war. On top of all this other crazy globalist economic collapse stuff that they want to do, right? And you have to understand, this is why Klaus Schwab knew that there was going to be all these little regional conflicts. There was going to be energy crises and energy lockdowns. Survival Lily talking about they're getting ready to ration fuel they're already doing it in Australia and many Southeast Asian countries. I think Papua New Guinea's out of oil. I think New Zealand is pretty much running out of oil, because they don't have the reserves there, right? Japan is already pivoting for the gas and oil because, they're trying to play well with Iran. It's like, okay, well, we can't pander to the United States, right? And the United States is losing, basically, when people start dumping the petrodollar and U.S. treasuries, that is the United States' ability to print money. When that money printing stops, it will be complete, utter implosion. It might even create a black hole. Like you're going to see the American economy die a very quick death when it gets to that point. And you're talking about probably 30 to 60% of Americans losing their jobs within a few weeks of that collapse. The devastation of death that comes with that. The people that rely on medical stuff. Look, they're already killing the diabetics as fast as they can in the States by putting like $700 a month for a fucking insulin shot, right? Again, the average person is paying something like $400 to $1,200 a month for fucking medical care. Like it's in insurance, and if they don't have medical insurance, like if they go to the hospital for one little thing, it's like thousands of dollars. If they get a major accident in a car accident, so $250,000 when when they come out of the hospital, like it's just fucking ridiculous, right? But we can't have that because that would be socialism. And not all that. The Canadian healthcare system is slightly cheaper with the single payer system, and I don't agree with Carney that anybody in Canada gets healthcare. Okay, I agree with Pierre Poilievre on that one and Daniel Smith and just about every other fucking Canadian, that's an actual Canadian, going and say, hey, you know what, if you're a foreigner, maybe you should buy healthcare insurance instead of just getting it for free because you showed up, right? That's why our healthcare system is so strained. And it's not just Alberta, it's everywhere. It's the entire, That's a problem, right? The UK is suffering the same thing. We can't have foreigners just coming here and getting free stuff, right? Maybe Carney will slowly back that out, but wishful thinking. But then again, every now and then he seems to be taking a jab at his own side, which pisses off. But he's doing it so incrementally that when he gets rid of a program, it's not like the Doge, right? Like if Elon Musk would have just taken all the cuts he did to the Doge, if he would have done it from when he started to now, it's the exact same cuts that he did, nobody would have noticed. Why? Because you do it incrementally. You take this little bit away from that department, a little bit away from that department, a little bit. And within 5 years, you've got 10 years, you've got a balanced budget. And nobody saw how it happened. Why? Because that's how Harper did it. That's how Paul Martin was doing it. And he was a liberal. Like Paul Martin was probably one of the prime ministers, as corrupt as he was. He was like the second, next to Chrétien, the second most corrupt prime minister of Canada, with scandals, right? You'd say, no, it was Trudeau. No, Trudeau was the most incompetent we had. Pierre Elliott Trudeau was corrupt, but he wasn't as corrupt as his son. His son was just completely fucking nuts, right? And Trudeau had some big scams, but in comparison to Chrétien, like fucking hundreds of billions of dollars stolen from the Canadian taxpayer. And then after that, it's Adrienne Clarkson. She's still on the fucking taxpayer dollar. She hasn't been Governor General in like 3 decades. You know what I mean? Like, how the fuck is this woman still fucking robbing again, we need rule of law big time. Anyway, I digress. But what I'm getting at is that when we're looking at all this economic hardship that's coming down, like, you better believe Ireland is going to be on fire all summer. And that's going to spread to the UK, because seeing all these people coming in, getting all this free stuff, when the fuel prices are at like farmer, again, and the idea, you have to understand, when these farmers go out of business, it's going to be your Bill Gates types that buy it up. It's all these big, these tech giants and all this. They buy up all this land. Why? Because you can't have Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, Internet of Things, and complete control of the food supply unless you destroy private industry. And that's the EU. That's all these globalist climate accords. That's what it's all about. Is basically making sure the little guy has no power, has no property. Again, every one of our world leaders is pretty much against private property ownership, unless it's for them, right? So yeah, there's that. That's what the World Economic Forum stuff is about. That's why Klaus Schwab has been able to, talk about the energy, rolling blackouts and energy crisis. This is why Keir Starmer was out there saying, hey, look, we're going to ban all gas-powered engines by 2025. This is why Trump has put basically so much effort into destroying the auto industry in the United States. That's how you get basically the EV revolution. Because it's like, well, we can't switch it overnight, so we have to basically break the other system to get the new system. So they want everybody invested in batteries and green technology and all that. And I'm not against the technology. I'm not against EV cars and stuff like that. It's just the infrastructure we would need in Canada just to convert all the vehicles we have to battery, which, good luck in the winter. We'd need another 14 nuclear power plants, right? How is that sustainable? And look, rather than worrying about building another 4 million houses in Canada, how about we cut off the immigration and repatriate people so that we don't have to build all these houses and destroy all our forests? Again, all these people that say, oh, climate change. Well, here's the easy climate plan for you. Cut off immigration. Sure, the birth rates are down. That's fine. If they're down for the next decade or two, they're going to level out at some point once people have opportunities of houses and stuff like that. But like, if we set back just all the temporary foreign workers and illegals, we'd get rid of probably 8 to 11 million people. There'd be no housing shortages. If anything, we'd have to probably knock a bunch of houses down to reclaim the land, which would be a great option, right? And just let it grow into nature. You know what I mean? And then all these people on welfare that are able-bodied, okay, well, seems to be a lot of fires. Again, they're all, pretty much arson, but okay, the arsonists went from lighting the bush on fire to now lighting factories on fire. But again, what happened in California just happened in Ottawa. They're a big fucking warehouse full of paper. Everybody lights it up. Guy lights it up because not getting paid. Again, that's what happens when you deracinate, probably 2/3 of your population. Like, again, keep your head on a swivel everywhere you go, because there's just people it's if you ever seen Kurt Douglas, is it Kurt Douglas? Michael Douglas, sorry. Michael Douglas in the movie Falling Down. We're having that falling down moment on a societal level. Instead of a guy, basically walking around with a machine gun in his briefcase. If you haven't seen the movie, excellent movie. You're seeing, like the Zoomer basically burning down the warehouse, because he's not getting paid enough. It's not that he's not getting paid enough. He's deracinated. It's just that's the straw that breaks the camel's back, right? It's everything. People are demoralized. But that's also out of the ashes you build anew. So, again, don't stand by anybody that's famous. Don't stand by anybody that's Jewish, because you could be killed in the crossfire. Don't go near giant groups of minorities, or even, don't let your guard down anywhere you are. Or you'll end up like Arena Zakarutska. Like that guy, they're like, okay, well, we're going to put him on meds for a little while to see if he can stand trial. He's not going to get any time. He's going to get very little time if he gets anything. Right? And that's going to start, you're just going to see Arena Zakarutska is going to be the new norm for white girls, that are oblivious on the buses. It's going to be everywhere. These groups are gone nuts, right? And again, we're bringing in fighting age men everywhere, and you're about to see them come in millions. And you're going to have, again, one thing you don't see is the refugee welcome signs anymore. You still have your radical leftists saying that, oh, well, yeah, and they're not advocating for the refugees. They hate white men. They hate patriarchy. They hate all these leftist things. They hate the West, right? Colonialism, Nazis and far right. They hate that. That's why they're advocating for these people coming in. But they don't care about these people at all. They don't care about the grooming gangs. They only care about Epstein because Trump was named in it. That's it. Welcome to the party. But again, where were you when we were screaming about this under the Obama years, right? And it's not that I'm right, you're wrong. I'm saying we should all be kind of united on that one. If you're a radical left-wing person, you should still agree with the furthest right-wing person or centrist, left or right, on the Epstein thing. You know what I mean? We should, look, we found common ground up here in Canada on the aisle crossing. It's treason. Right now, yes, you have some liberal people that are like, oh yeah, look, the conservatives are switching the aisle. Ha, we're winning. No, you just lost. You've seen, aisle crossing has been a thing. But it's been rare. In Canada, in 10 years, you get 2 people crossing the aisle. And people are outraged like that. But even liberals are angry because it's okay, yeah, well, you took an NDP person from, okay, fine. They'll probably be on board with most of the liberal stuff. But even at that, I would never vote for the NDP because they're the socialist communists, right? More socialist than communist, but they're getting to the point where they're becoming, you can't speak to them. It takes 15 minutes to say hello to somebody because just to get through their fucking pronouns, right? It's nuts. God forbid they ever run the country, wow. I'm one of those people that, don't flee around and bug out and all that. Fight where your feet are. You got to stay in the nation. But with the NDP, I don't know. That might be a run to the hills moment for me. I don't know, just because it's okay, yeah, yeah. I don't want to catch what they have. All these Americans that want to migrate to Canada. I don't want you. I don't want you. I don't want the Africans. I don't want all the fucking Middle Easterners. I don't want all the Jews. I don't want all those people coming here bringing their shit here. I don't want all these people from India. I don't want that here. Most people don't, right? But I also don't want progressive Americans here or progressive Europeans here. I'm that hardcore Canadian. I don't even want the Europeans here. I don't hate the Europeans. I love the Europeans. But I want them to make their country better. When you see all these H-1B visa guys and all that, or temporary foreign workers, we'll call it here. Oh, I'm coming here so I can be a part of the, make Canada better. But well, why don't you want to make your own country better? That should be your first thing. You should be patriotic for that. And it can be done if the people that came here that are trying to make the thing better, not just take advantage of, and because most of them are just scamming, right? That's just the reality. You can call me racist, bigot, but that's the reality. But if the people that were like the doctors, the nurses, the engineers, and stuff like that were to stay in their own country and not just give into the brain drain, they could have a first world country if they would, maintain it. Even if there would only be a handful of people that would be running the country. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't take much. Like, you need people to run the water treatment plant. You need somebody to run the nuclear power plant. Okay, fine. That takes care of most of the population. You need just like 3%. If 3% of Africans per country grew food in their country with the industrialization that we have nowadays available, they could feed. There should not be a starving African anywhere. It's there because the Africans don't feed themselves. They don't think in those terms. And you can call me racist bigot, but it's true. Look what's happening in South Africa. The Africans are getting, driving the boar off the farms, okay, and they take over the farm just dilapidates. And it was all set up for you. And then you call it colonialism and racism that, you set up the country for yourselves. Yeah, but you benefit from that. You know what I mean? Like, that's the thing. Like, you can't help those people if they can't even see that logic. Like, you'll get the odd, like guy in South Africa, like I remember this one lady, or like Aborigines in Australia, like, don't fucking send the white man, like, don't fucking attack the white man, like, you're gonna ruin my way of life. It's like, the reason why I'm benefiting is because of the fucking white man. It's like, and again, I know white men didn't create absolutely everything, but we created the majority of modern society as it is. I'm not saying there's other groups that aren't smart. Like, look at the Japanese. Look at how fucking industrious they can get. Look at the Chinese. You want to replicate something that's the Chinese. But who are the prominent inventors of everything? It is European minds, right? But it's because the people make the place. So as you dilute the places, again, look, if Europeans were flooding into Somalia, we'll go with the hypothetical. Somalians would be bitching about it. They'd be fucking angry about that. They'd be like, no. If they were all, remember when you had, the British running Hong Kong, you had the British running India, and they're all upset about 1997. Okay, you guys are out, and they were all happy about it. Okay, fine. Well, why aren't you staying there then? you know what I mean? Like, you wanted us gone, we fucking left, and now you're tracking us down. What? Why? Because it's revenge migration. Anyway, no. And look, I don't hate people from other countries. I don't hate brown people. But I will call out bad behavior. I will call out customs that are not compatible with the West. And I will call out the bullshit immigration scams. Again, too many to list. Again, because it doesn't even help those people that are scamming you in the long run. Like, okay, you're bringing in the scams that you had in India here. And how did you fare out there? Well, how do you think you're going to fare out here? You know what I mean? Like, again, it's like, we have to come up with all these new government programs to deal with all these fucking Indian scams. How about we just send those Indians packing? Put them in jail, strip them of their citizenship, send them out. Oh, but if we send them back, they might be persecuted. Fuck them. They don't have to go home, but they can't stay here. Again, if we don't, like, to pander to the radical left and be gaslit anymore, it's just, look, everybody's turning into a hardliner one way or the other. And I am a person that believes in family, nation, future. I believe all people have the right to exist, stuff like that, but not at the expense of everybody else. Like Israel, sure, it has the right to exist, but not at the expense of the Greater Israel Project and killing everybody in the Middle East, or the Iranians or the Palestinians, whatever. Right? The Palestinians have a right to exist too. I just don't want to live beside them. Well, if you don't want to live beside them, why should the Israelis? Because they were there. They have to make peace. They have to learn how to play well in their own sandbox. You know what I mean? Like, that's not our problem. That's their problems. They have to work through that themselves. And if they want to kill each other over it, leave us out of it. If the Iranians and the Persians and the Jews want to wipe each other out, let them. Maybe at some point they'll hate each other in peace, right? But that said, we're going to see how much of a sham this is probably within the next couple of weeks, especially once we start to really understand how many Americans actually died in this war so far. It's got to be astronomical. This idea that, like, every time a rocket levels, like, an 8-story building that like 2 people died or injured or whatever. Like all these people that are just getting injured. Okay, you blew up 2 C-130s full of people, okay, or whatever, while you were shooting at them, while the guys are on the run, but not one bullet hits these guys. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, there's a skull in the wreckage, but yeah, it's just one guy. There's just one guy. Yeah. Guys, it's just not believable. You know what I mean? And will they ever tell us the truth? No. And I don't even think they know. Like, I mean, what I'm thinking is what's happening is that a lot of these American bases have probably lost communication to the point where they can't verify who's still alive and who's not. Because the things are getting knocked out every night. So it's like, okay, well, we know on this side of the base everybody's good, but it's a big base, and we haven't done the head count this morning because, shit's still coming in, right? So you might have to wait a day or two, right? We got troops scattered all through the Middle East in motels and stuff like that. They're going to have like tent cities everywhere just to keep these guys as like, it's okay, we got to follow the Tuaregs now because we're going to get rockets every time we land in a freaking motel, right? We just don't know. Like, how many people in the embassies have been killed? How many were Americans? How many were people from there? We don't know. It's just the craziness, and it's going to go on. Like, look, the Israelis don't care how many Americans die. Like, the Israelis are more than willing to fight Iran to the last American. I think most people realize that. But the thing is that what's going to happen, though, is you're going to start to see the true numbers. And what you're going to see is the real mask off of, we're already at a mask off moments for many things, but you're going to see that the Congress, whether they're on the left or on the right, will not end this war in Israel. Like, they won't even have the vote on whether this is a legal war or not because it might offend Israel and might offend Jews, right? And again, it's the longer that non-rule of law goes on, the more Americans are going to come to the realization there is no rule of law. And on top of that, you're going to get more chaos in the streets, right? So anyway, I'm going to leave it at about that for now. We'll see what kind of lunacy we get tomorrow. Next to that, rate, subscribe, share, comment, like. Be true to yourself, be true to others. Always do the right thing. Have yourselves a great day, eh?